Oh my
Asher?
god, we're live.
No, are you kidding me?
We're live. We live. We live.
Asher, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I can't hear you. Give me a second. Oh, god damn it, this always fucking happens.
This is my stream now. Sorry about that, but while Scottish is gone, today me and Scottish are gonna be teaching Lemmy some Aussie slangs. So yeah, this will be exciting. Oh yeah, I've got my avatar as Aiden. I'll probably just change that really quickly. There we go. Now it's my profile picture. Oh, Scottish is back.
You're right, you're right.
No.
I've returned.
Okay. Oh, I've got a few other fast food places that have been renamed in Australia.
Hungry Jacks?
Yeah, Hungry Jack's and Donut King, which is Dunkin' Donuts.
Oh, I didn't know that one.
Yeah. Well, when Lemmy gets here, I'll tell him those ones.
We could also just ask him what foods are. Like we could ask him like fairy bread's not really slang, but it's just a thing that you guys have. We could ask him
Yeah.
we could ask him like Tim Tams and burger rings.
Yeah.
And then
We just
Smith's.
ask him, have you ever had a Tim Tam? I think my mom actually has Tim Tams. I don't know where they are though.
Yeah, America does have Tim Tams, and they're fucking thank God. So.
Huh?
America has Tim Tams.
Really?
Yeah, they're not like well known. They don't like sell them in like every store. Well, you have to go to like
Bro,
and get them.
Tim Tams are fucking amazing.
I know they're fucking delicious.
The best. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god.
I showed you this yesterday, Asher.
Yes, you did.
But tiny.
I like.
Here, I'll take Gordon's tender. He's the same size as Gordon's tender.
Oh jeez.
Absolutely minuscule. Oh, nothing gets here before we start the slang part of the stream. You should tell them about the 30s.
Oh yes. I think he saw the iceberg video. I don't know if he did. But yeah, I still believe it's in the 30s.
I mean, while we're here, you could say it to the 0 viewers or the people that are going to watch
The
this
0 viewers. Well, I think I'll wait till Lemmy joins.
Yeah.
Oh wait, that's in like half an hour. Yeah, I think I'll just line it out again. So basically, I believe Tugs is set in the 30s because at the end of the iceberg video by EN2, basically MK had like this massive breakdown about how Tugs is not set in the 20s, but it's set in the 30s. I believe it because he actually brought up a lot of like good reasons why. So one of them is the diesel tug that was planned for Tugs. Its basis was built in 1937. And another like sailboat, I'm pretty sure, that was meant to be in the port is also built in 1934. And like there's a bunch of cars around the port built in 1932. Excuse me. And it also, there's like a bunch of desolate buildings and old docks that haven't been used for quote unquote years. So, and also, whatever. Gotta remember. Oh yeah, Tugs was actually like making full destroyer models, right? This isn't my findings. This is mainly MK's. I'm not taking credit for what he's done, but he has done his research. God. The other things. There's a Navy spy sneaking into the port, and the Navy is always so like frequently talked about in Tugs. And in fact, the American Navy of World War II started in 1937. So that's probably what the munitions are going for. Oh yeah, about the spy. That's in a book illustration. Also, what I found. Oh, Scottish is gone, but what I found out. I looked up. Was there a big heat wave in 1930? And it came up with 1936. There was a big heat wave, and it caused a lot of deaths, which could be like hinting to the fact that because in quarantine at the start, it said it was the year of the big heat wave, and basically there was a sickness going around, quarantine, blah blah blah, and then uh, it caused a lot of deaths in 1936. So that could be the sickness going around. So I don't know. I just believe it's set in 1936. But we will wait for Scottish to come back.
Sorry, Asher. My friend called me and it made me log out of the stream. So
It's alright.
did you finish explaining?
Yeah.
That's cool. Also, wait, did you tell the part about the heat wave or whatever?
Yeah, I did. That was the last thing I spoke about.
Yes. If that, oh my god, if that was regatta, holy crap.
If it was regatta, because it happened in July. The heat wave happened in July. I mean, the heat wave in quarantine could have also happened in July.
It could have. But if it was regatta, it would have worked out so perfectly.
Mm.
Spencer's a very heavy item.
He is. I have one of him.
Where's my Arthur? Because it said that Arthur is the heaviest take along characters.
Nah, I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so either. But like when you pick him up, he has some weight to him. Arthur is heavy.
Yeah. And my dog is barking.
That's nice. Now that I'm feeling him, Arthur is heavier.
Huh.
Yeah. Oh no. Yeah, but Big Mac is finished.
Oh, he's finished?
Yes, Big Mac is done.
Warrior is almost finished. I need to fix up his mast and get the bullets done.
Yeah. Big Mac is finished on my end. You have arrived, Railmake Productions.
Railmakes is here. Railmakes! Let me eat the screwdriver. No.
I still have that picture of you eating a Douglas. Is that Hammond?
Hello. I can't actually smell out of my nose.
I love Coldy's model. Coldy's such a cool engine.
How's Peter's son going? He's here. No, we need him.
Who is Peter's son?
Coldy. Yeah, Peter Sam. Hello.
Oh, Peter Sam. It's Peter.
Oh yeah, this is one of the rarest Peter Sam. No,
it is
the rarest Peter Sam in existence. So.
My metallic diesel.
Ew. More like smell-tacular diesel. Smell-talic diesel.
Metallic.
Oh!
Here's my metallic lady.
I don't care. Lady, more like man. Oh.
Guess we will never know who gave it to you. Shake my head. I think I know who gave it to you.
Yeah, me too. I think so too.
I could be wrong. I think I might be wrong, but I think I know.
Yeah, I think I might be wrong too.
I mean, you could shout him out.
Oh, wait.
Oh. That's
oh
scary.
my god.
That is terrifying.
I'm a brick. Tell me I'm trapped in a brick wall.
You need to leave. That's so scary.
This looks so weird. Whoa. This looks less scary.
Yes, wall looks less scary, but truck looks terrifying. You right.
My lord, that's scary. Man, I'm in my $1 million mansion, you know? This is in my $1 million mansion. You know, I got all these flies on me, but I can just brush them off. Not really, but like... I'm in my $1 million mansion, bro.
Alright, Asher. I'm gonna go grab water real quick. I need you to do me a favor, and I want you to talk about your opinion on The Great Discovery, because I know you don't like it.
Great Discovery. The narration, in my opinion, it's terrible. I hate how just slow-paced it is. And it's just really... It gets really boring. Very, very boring. Like, it's like, Thomas went down the line, Duncan told him to go down. It's not enticing. Like, if it were Michelangelo, he'd be like, Thomas went down the line, Duncan told him to. But then there was trouble. It's so much more interesting if Michelangelo was, like, the one narrating. And, like, just there's so much plot to it. There's too much plot. Like one plot, it's resolved, and then another plot comes in. Like at one point, like it's so just. I'm not saying it's my least favorite movie. I'm just saying it's not one of the best in my opinion. I just really don't like The Great Discovery. Romex is probably gonna kill me for that. Because I think he likes The Great Discovery. I don't know. Just DMs me on Twitter. We can no longer be friends. We can no longer be friends. Oh. But yeah, I just don't really like how The Great Discovery is like played out. It's just really not my cup of tea.
How was your Great Discovery talk?
Yeah.
I also got a burrito.
Burrito. Oh crap, zip. Oh!
What happened?
Okay, so you know the ITV like broadcast they did on Tugs?
No.
You don't?
Nope.
Are you joking?
No.
Sorry, I'm gonna have to show you this.
Okay. Are you sharing your screen?
I will in a sec.
Okay.
Alright, I'm sharing my screen. I am so shocked you have not seen this yet. Oh my god. Alright.
Alrighty, let's see it.
Now, as you know, you can see Motormouth on Saturday morning. Magic, movie magic.
Hello, you lot. My name is Gaz Top, and this is Lee International Studios at Shepperton. Come with me, and I'll tell you a little bit about it. It really is an extraordinary place. Probably the most famous film studios in the world outside of Hollywood. They made some wonderful movies here. Have you seen The Omen? That horror classic? That was made here. The Superman films were also shot here. That's Christopher Reeve, you know, You'll Believe a Man Can Fly, you know the one. What else did they do here? The Pink Panther movies. They can do just about anything here. They can make the audience believe that the film has taken them anywhere in the world. They make the most extraordinary special effects as well.
Alright, this right here.
Mm-hmm.
So this is 10 cents. This is all the pictures we had of it so far. You see this little brim here?
Yeah. Oh no, yeah. See, I saw that. I saw that picture. I didn't know where it was
It's zip. But yeah, it's from this. So I'll just continue.
For instance, at Shepperton, they can make me look 200 feet tall, towering over buildings. This is, in fact, the miniature set for the TV series Tugs. The whole thing takes place in a tank, and it's about the adventures of a team of boats who live their own independent lives.
This was also the first time we had like the clear Tugs intro without the narration over it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I have two directors on this. One shoots with a very
Robert
strong
D.
storyboard
Calder.
storyline. The other, David, who knows the
David.
ins and outs of the camera more, is more general in what he tries to do. But at the end of the day, I still try to get some sort of consistency of technique and look.
There they
And to
are.
a certain degree, also, the characters take over.
Well, it's all radio controlled. As you can see, we've got an 8-channel transmitter here. And there's servos inside, which operate the eyes and the face.
All right.
And some of the tugs have got other additions like paddle wheels, which turn, and sternways and things like that. So that it's all controlled by here.
How about the smoke?
We've got a smoke machine, which is piped up.
How long is the tube then that the smoke comes down?
About 15 feet. We can lengthen them and shorten them to suit. We put weights around them so they don't float around in the tank. So when it's actually in there, you don't see where the smoke comes from at all. It just comes out of the tug.
Chris, his line is, "You took the worst of it," speaking to Warrior. So I think this one's just a little bit too...
Top hat.
Really, what he's got on there. It's not really... It's almost sympathetic. And in somewhat, he admires Warrior now for a change.
Each tug has a set of different faces. They're all kept safely in separate boxes to show different expressions. And these faces can be changed at any time to suit the
He
needs.
murdered Warrior!
Warrior!
Not my boy!
Story. They're made from a resin type substance, a bit like
I
fiber.
love how fat Warrior looks. Just look at him.
I know.
Glass. In fact, it's car filler, which you can buy from the shops to mend dents in your car, eh? Clever stuff.
If you do see Top Hat, you'll be interested to know that the only reason he rises his...
One sec.
Top hat. That's a really cool video. Gaming.
Sorry.
You're all right.
head up is because he's a genuine railway tug. And the reason they put their cabins high was so they could see over the top of the railway
He lifts his head up.
as he's pushing them along.
No, he hit Big Mac.
Tugs actually move quite gently.
Big
I mean,
Mac!
They do off the side, but usually they're solid as a rock. They go up and down a little, but they're big, heavy boats. So on the way we're shooting it, if we stick it on a trolley, it actually looks quite realistic.
How much does each tug cost? Can you put a price on them?
Several thousand. It took a long time to develop them. It took about 9 months to develop each tug, or the fleet of tugs.
How long
9 months. It can take us a week to build one.
Mm.
We've got now down to a 15-day turnaround. That's not allowing
There
for
he
the
is.
next to come on board. Also, it's gentle onsets. In other words, if we had to change from a big town set to this, then obviously you've got a day to change that round. So that would mean your schedule went into 16 days. But what you try to do is finish in 15. Keeps the producer sane.
Yeah, that's basically it. It's really cool.
Dude, that is sick. That is really
Mm.
cool.
Ugh. Sorry.
What was I gonna say? I love your recommended on YouTube.
What was it?
It was like there was a dream speed run, and then there was a Quackity podcast. And then
Oh
there was
yeah,
this one-
Quackity. I love Quackity.
Quackity's hilarious.
I love him in like Tommy Innit videos.
Tommy and it's funny. Oh my god, I love Tommy.
Yes.
But it isn't as cool as my ultra rare 2003 wooden railway Thomas. I guess not. Do you watch the Dream SMP, Asher?
Kind of.
I did, and then it got boring. Like nothing. I feel like after, like, Tommy died in the prison,
Yeah.
it kind of got boring.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess when Wilbur got revived, but then
Yeah.
pretty much it. Lack the ability to feel any joy, so I cannot relate to the feelings you have towards these YouTubers.
Where is Lemmy? Is Lemmy backstage?
No, he's not.
Damn. I really want to get to teaching him about Aussie slangs, but also I really want to get to how I think Tugs in the 1920s.
I mean, you mean the 30s?
No, 30s, not 1920s.
Only time I watched anything out of the Dream SMP was Tommy Innit and Wilbur making a drug bust or something like that. Back in the Manberg days, the old times. I was like before the Manberg
days.
I love how we're talking about Tugs, and then I saw you recommended, and now we're talking about the Dream SMP.
Mexican Lemberg.
Mexican Dream. Asher, Lemmy has been in bed dead for 3 years. You have to move on. That's funny.
Well, I was talking to him today.
So was I. Is that not Lemmy?
Lemmy is just in a simulation.
Lemmy has a twin named Lenny.
Lenny.
I'm going to keep this comment on screen until Lemmy joins. Asher, Lemmy's been
Oh my
dead
god,
for
I hate
3
it when I
years.
can't sneeze.
Oh, it's like right on the inside of your sinuses, and you can't achoo.
It's like right, your nose hurts.
Yeah.
You're like about to sneeze, and then you're like, fuck.
Honestly.
Ugh.
No, Lemmy has an evil twin brother named Leader of the Watermelons. Who killed Lemmy and
The
stole
leader of the watermelons. Leader of the apricots.
God of the apples?
God of the cabbage.
No, master of, or not master, loser of the limes.
Loser.
Now we're getting to like stuff where like turtles.
Winner of the broccoli.
Leader of broccoli.
No, winner.
Oh, winner of broccoli, yes.
Winner of the broccoli. Let me get the comment off screen.
What?
The comment, it's still on the screen.
Yeah, I know.
Why?
Because I was going to leave it there until Lemon joins. Fun fact. The state vegetable of Oklahoma is a watermelon. Huh.
I love watermelon, but why is it a vegetable?
I think because seeds are on the inside. I could be wrong.
Yeah, the
No,
seeds are on the
that's-
inside. That means it's a fruit.
Fruit, yeah.
Why is it? Why did he say vegetable?
I think he's just shit talking.
Or he said fruit instead of. I mean, he said vegetable instead of fruit.
Yeah. Or that. Should I go over my models? My custom models, my series until Lemmy joins?
No, it's a vegetable.
Search up state
All right,
vegetable.
let me look up. Is watermelon a veg?
Lemmy's joining in a minute.
Hell yeah!
All right, well, until then, here's Thomas. He is up in
Is
Northwest.
watermelon a vegetable?
No. Search up state vegetable of Oklahoma.
Watermelon as a vegetable based on gardening technique. Gardening techniques? Who the fuck cares?
Okay. God damn.
Sorry,
What?
what? You
How-
can't
okay,
base
no,
a
I'm sorry, but wait,
freaking
listen,
vegetable
listen.
or fruit off
How
of
the
the
fuck does a
farming
gardening
techniques
technique-
you use.
Exactly. How the fuck does it? What?
How does that make sense?
How does the gardening technique that you use determine if it's a fruit or vegetable?
Exactly. What the fuck?
That makes no damn sense.
It's either if it has seeds or not. Then it's a vegetable or a fruit. Fuck.
Here's Edward.
Steady.
Edward's pretty chill. Got Henry back here. Fun fact, I've told you this, Asher, and I probably said this on another stream. I think it was Henry or Thomas that was the first engine that I made.
Yeah.
So, that's pretty chill.
Wait,
And
I'll
then-
be right back.
Alrighty.
Sorry.
No, you're good. So that's Henry. It's pretty chill. I really like putting the Northwestern on the tender and then the number on the side of them. But here I'll just go in order. Gordon. This dot here, I feel like the queen. So you know how in Royal Engine, how Duchess had the crown on the front of her. I feel like Gordon got those, but he put them on the side of his what are they called? His smoke box. And then I feel like he just never took them off. Same thing with his buffers. He has the white buffers like he did in Paint Pots and Queens or Thomas Beats the Queen. And I just really like it, so I kept them. James, I don't like how I did the 5 on this side, so I'm turning it to this side. I like this is James. I gave him a gold. Oh, I gave Gordon a gold rim on his funnel too. But I feel like James just would beg for Top Hat one. So I gave James one because I feel like Top Hat would just be like, All right. If I give you the gold rim, will you shut up about it? Terrible stop hat impression, but that's that. And then we got probably my second favorite engine that I've made out of all of this lot, Percy. Percy, I love just because of how tiny the Northwestern is on his tank. I love Percy. He's so like dirty too, because I feel like Percy's like the equivalent of a dog. Like Percy just goes outside for 5 minutes and comes back covered in mud or dust. Like that's like it's just he's just a magnet for it. That's just Percy. And then here's Toby. I did the side what are these called? Like boards, a different shade. You know those gold rims are called copper cap chimneys? That's cool. I did not know that. Well then they're copper cap chimneys. That's a perfect description of Percy Scottish. I'm joining in a minute, by the way. Alrighty. I got Toby. Here, while you said that, Lemmy, I'm gonna go highlight the comment. There we go. I got the Northwestern on the side plates. And I'm not gonna reveal much about my series because there's not really much about it. It's the leader of the watermelons. Sorry, leader of the watermelons. But I'll just say this. Toby does not work on the Farquhar line anymore. He still works on Sodor, just not on the Farquhar line. On the Farquhar branch, I should say. Then we got Duck. I'm probably going to redo Duck at some point. I don't really like how Duck turned out because I spilled a bit of black paint right there on him.
Please get the comment off screen.
Why's that?
I just don't
Asher,
like it.
Lemmy's been dead for 3 years. You have to move on.
I will leave the stream.
I mean, hey, that's up to you.
I will leave the stream. There won't be any stream. Thank you.
There we go. That's a better one. Donald.
Oh my god, why does there have to be a comment on screen?
Because there has to.
No, that doesn't.
Am live. Am alive. Okay. Master of the
I am
Lemons.
alive.
Am alive.
He is alive.
Then we got Donald. Third favorite character in the whole show right here. You're right.
Donald.
Yes, you heard that. Third favorite character. A Scottish twin is not my second favorite character. My first favorite is Douglas. Douglas is the best character in comics. I'm just going to say it now. Douglas is my favorite character. The second one is a tie between Boko or Oliver. And then Donald. Because Donald's just amazing. But not as amazing to get number 2 or 1. So there's Donald. And then we got my favorite, Douglas. Hello. Hammond. I feel like saying Hammond in an American accent sounds very weird.
Hammond. Hammond.
Hammond.
Hammer.
Hammond.
Hammond. Hammond. Say Hammond.
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 Why do I always go Hammond? It's Hammond. Yeah, I always drag out my M. Hammond. Hammond.
Hammond.
Hammond. Hammond.
Hammond.
I always drag it out. Hammond.
So yeah, those are all my.
What? I'm
Those are
always
all my
dragging it
engines.
out. Hammond.
I'm actually really proud of these engines because I love the way they look.
You
Did you
showed
see
your
it?
face. Yeah.
I'm gonna end this and redo it. I'm not. This isn't going on the internet.
No, there was only like a split second.
That's so bad.
I could barely even tell it out. Okay, I've seen your face before, and I could barely tell that was your face.
You have seen my face, but people haven't.
And that's
seen
what
my
I
face,
said, and
they
I could
just saw
barely
my
tell
face.
that was your face. Oh my god, Scottish, just keep going.
Fine.
Yeah. Scottish
Well,
face
I mean,
reveal. Well, you're not gonna see shit because it's blurred.
If anyone wants to see my face, you could see it for a split second because I accidentally fucked up.
Hello, you two.
Hello, Lemmy.
How are you?
Hi, Lemmy.
I did an accidental face reveal.
We all do
Technically.
from time to time. Obviously, before we reveal our faces, you can't really do an accidental face reveal when you've already revealed your face. That doesn't make sense. But yeah. So
Yeah.
anyway, so I see you're
Asher.
showing off your customs, Scottish.
I am. I was.
Ah, very cool.
Very proud of them.
Well, Asher just vibrates Hammond right here. Just.
I love, like, I was in a call yesterday with a bunch of friends. I just did this to the camera. I just did that. And then today I just did this to the camera at one point. Just Peter Sam.
That's pretty good.
This is my favorite Peter Sam, actually.
That'd be pretty.
Yes.
That'd be pretty funny to do on the what's the together mode on Skype, where it's like you're like it.
You're just holding Peter Sam or something.
Wait.
Wait, let me put the green screen on. Yes.
Cool.
I'm in my $1 million mansion.
Why does
What?
it keep happening where just I stopped it this time?
Sorry, what'd you say, Scottish?
All right. Asher, tell her. My phone keeps falling over and it just goes down. And so my face is just right in the frame.
It's like a
All right,
perfect
Asher, tell
reveal.
Lemmy your theory.
Alright, Lemmy, I don't know
Yeah,
if you saw the
exactly.
EN2's video on the iceberg, right?
Whose video?
EN2.
EN2.
Well, he basically just outlines this iceberg of Tugs, and at the end, MK has technically a mental breakdown of how Tugs is set in the 1930s and not the 1920s.
Well, yeah, if he's super obsessed with analyzing what buildings are from what time periods and whatnot. But here's the thing. Here's how I know. Here's how I know that Tugs is in the 1920s. The 1920s. That's how the show starts. That's how I know it's in the 1920s. Very nice and simple. Really make a case that it makes more sense in the 30s. You could also make a case that the three railway engines is in the 40s. That doesn't mean that it is. It's in the 20s because Audrey said it was. So it's if he's just going based on what they cobbled together on screen to get the general idea of the 20s across, I feel like he's going too far into. He's focusing too much on the details and not the greater picture.
Well, he did. There was multiple times where he searched up and looked at the. Said what? No, yeah, background things and how it was these things built in the 1930s. Because take the diesel tug that was built. The first diesel tug was built in 1937.
But the diesel tug. The diesel.
I mean, he was gonna be. It was gonna be something at one point.
I just want you to go through. Just Asher. I just want you to go through the entire. Just write out in plain English every single line in the dialogue of the entire show, and then Control F that and look for diesel anywhere. Do they say the word diesel in the entire show anywhere, or did Chris Tulloch just say, "Oh yeah, the diesel tug. I know about that. We sculpted that. We were going to do that in season 37, but we never got to it." It's I don't care. They never brought it up in the show.
37.
Mr. Red Hole. It's Mr. Red Hole Boatman. Hello, Mr. Red Hole Boatman. Good to see you, but you're not a diesel. As far as I'm concerned, you're a steam harbor tug because you are identical to the others. You're Fire Tug's long lost brother that hasn't been built yet. That's what you are. So no, I
Hey,
don't.
well-
I should fire Tug.
There was a tugboat that was like built for Tugs. It was in behind the scenes pictures, and I think it was on set like once, and it was built in 1937. No, 1934.
Which one? What was this?
It was like this. I don't know what it was. It was a boat with a white hull and then a brown superstructure, but without a wheelhouse.
I remember that was like in a few black and white. The very first Tugs behind the scenes pictures that were in model boats in like 1987, 1990,
Yeah.
whenever. The point being, I remember I wondered what that thing was for years. And then when we finally got pictures in color, like it was kind of a letdown almost. It was a really cool to know, but at the same time, it's like the thing about the pictures is there were these really grainy black and white photos from like back in the day, and you could just see it there, and it was like really hard to tell what we were even looking at. And I didn't know if the whole was really white or if it was a weird like contrast thing going on because it was a black and white photo. But like I was looking at it like, is that a tugboat? What is this? Is this a wheelhouse? Like, I thought it was like a half-finished tug or something. But no, it's just a really weird looking boat. Like it's exactly what it looked like the whole time. It's just the reason we couldn't make any sense of it is because it didn't make any sense to look at. Like it's just a weird looking boat. But but again, the thing is like it's from the 30s, but clearly not in this universe. I mean, it wasn't even in the show, so we don't have to worry about it. But if it had been in the show, in this universe, it's from the 20s. Simple as that. Also, OJ's English, but he's clearly not supposed to be, right? Like OJ came from England, but we're kind of stretching the boundaries and saying no, he's just American in this world for some reason. I mean, the point being that when you think Tugs, you think 1920s, you think fedoras, you think gangsters and smuggling, and you think, the general ideas are all very 1920s. And sometimes I think MK gets a little too carried away with the red string on his crime board, trying to figure out what's where. And I love him for that. I really do. But at the same time, it can kill creativity if you're not careful. So it's like all in moderation. Should
I just like share my screen and show what MK was?
Yeah, go ahead. Why not?
All right.
Unless we're gonna get copyrighted or something. And by we, I mean Scottish, because I'm not paying the copyright fee.
Yeah, don't take my channel down, Asher. My 50 subscribers will be disappointed.
All right, I think.
I mean, there's nothing stopping me from creating a new channel called the Caledonian Twins, but
that's true. What do you prefer, Scottish? Do you prefer the Caledonian Twins or the Scottish Twins?
I prefer the Scottish Twins because that's just like what I know. But Caledonian's literally just the same thing, but just
it's just slightly more specific, basically.
Yeah,
it's like interesting because it more refers to the railway they came from, like the
Caledonian.
Yeah, so it's like it is more specific, whereas like Scottish kind of generalized. Like once the LMS comes along, it's like, okay, you're the Scottish part of our railway, and they're like, okay, but. Yeah.
Okay.
I prefer Scottish Twins too.
All right, I'm sharing my screen, Scottish.
What do you think of my cool new name? Says leader of the Watermelons. I don't remember what the old name was. Is this Reading? Did Reading change their name? Well, it's good, but I think Reading 640 Studios is the best name, personally. Okay. Oh dear. Okay. So the first thing I see is the sketchy wooden hat that was never cast into a real hat.
Yeah.
1937. Now, you might think that's an accidental anachronism, except that the white yacht's basis is...
This is the one that I'm talking about. This is all, like, stuff found by MK. And I was like, I fully believe now that Tugs is set in 1930s. The 1930s.
Why?
Also...
But because, like, he brought up a lot of evidence that kind of makes sense. Well, not kind of. That does make sense.
Evidence for a real historical event or evidence for a fictional show that was come up with by David Mitton, who makes the rules and decides what's what.
Like actual real life evidence.
This is what I'm saying, Asher. There is no evidence.
I know, but it's just
evidence for a fictional property. Like, it is what the author decides it is. You know, like, I could make a lot of cases as to when things take place, but it's not science, it's art. So it's like, you know, if you like the 30s, that's one thing. You could put it in the 30s.
Yeah.
Just based on what shows up in the show, I mean, there's a lot of things that don't make sense. Like, say, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't. Also, these are not the same yacht. Just looking at them, like they're remotely. I don't see how these are the same.
There's
I can't.
I guess
really
the windows on the side, like the
see the
lack of the
stack in
wheelhouse,
real
the
life one.
windows.
The windows are different. Everything. It's white. That's like the one similarity I see. There's no stack.
Yeah, there's no stack. That's like probably the biggest thing about it.
I don't see any overlap with this. Is there like a name overlap? And is it like there was
I think there might be. I don't know where it is. It might be up the front though.
Like because what I'm guessing is this. It's like that he looked up this ship and they both have the same name. And one time at an event, Jeremy King said under his breath, like it's called this, and then everyone was like, "What? Called that? Oh my god!" That's the whole point.
It's called the Butch Wedding Gift. But yeah.
I don't know. I think.
In fact, so are some of the automobiles parked on the docksides. Have you ever wondered why, for a series supposedly in a boom time, there are so many derelict buildings, old docks, and abandoned warehouses that, quote, haven't been used for years? Why in Treasure Hunt is there so little business that the stars are having to literally beg the Zeros for the smallest contracts? They're not in the boom. They're in the depression. There's more. Why is the Vienna in the Mauritania's hospital ship livery to the point of getting the accurate post-war livery in Thomas? Why does the Navy have such an active presence anyway? When were Blue Nose's new ships built? Why did they need a full-scale destroyer model? Why is a U-boat spy trying to enter the port?
Show me the full-scale destroyer.
Huh?
Show me the full-scale destroyer. I haven't seen that.
Blue Nose's new ships built. Why?
These things up here.
Freaky. Tugs is freaky.
Those are cool.
Yeah, Tugs is.
How long? How long before we just see a new Tug? Like just a Tug that was fully finished that never showed up in the show with like just a new character. How long? How long before we see that?
I'm gonna say
sleep again. Like that's
10
gonna
years.
happen.
I'm gonna say 5 years. Honestly, I feel like Top Hat's just gonna appear something.
All right. Okay, look, I gotta say the narrative here is very good. Like I love the what is this? Is this the Ratatouille music from when?
Yeah, I think so. when he like read the letter and he was like, "Wait,
I have a son." It's like,
I have a son.
That's pretty good, I have to admit. So like this is a very well put together video from the few seconds I've seen. But
Yeah.
then, here, like it's cool that you're into this, Asher, and I understand why. But for me personally, like look, like here, I'll get into it this way. So the Railway series, okay. So there's all these books in here.
Oh,
The Railway
the
books.
Rowus.
So, this right here is where I do my obsession. Like, Audrey very clearly wrote out a timeline and told us exactly where all the castles were, and also when King Godred died, and also every battle he ever fought, and also when all the shunters entered and left their posts, and when everybody was built, and also that there is more than one of some of the major characters, and like he did all that stuff, right? So this is the Obsessi series to me. This is the one that has a bunch of facts laid out because Audrey wrote like 100-page long encyclopedia that defined everything. So to me, like I do that kind of Obsessi fact stuff with the Railway series, but then Tugs is the place I go to just have a creative whirlwind, right? I just go there and I'm like, oh, that's beautiful. And I don't think too much about it, right? I don't have to answer every question. So like, and because the reason I approach the two so differently is because that's how David Mitton approached it. He just kind of went to America and got inspired by things. He didn't really base things on anything. Top Hat doesn't have a basis. Zoran doesn't have a basis. Nobody has a basis except for a few vague tugs. Like OJ's kind of based on something. Hercules is obviously based on something. But like generally, it's more about the general feeling of things, right? Now, the strongest argument that got made and what you just showed me was the fact that a lot of the show, when you think about how it portrays itself, does actually kind of seem like they're in a depression. Like, you know, when business is so sparse and the fact that there are so many derelict buildings, like, yeah, that is actually a really good case. I don't know how the Navy stuff comes into it. I mean...
Oh, because at the end it was like the US Navy war for World War II started in 1937. I think that was like right at the end.
So the argument is that that we're not just in the early 30s, but we're in the late 30s.
Yeah.
Dude, that's the only thing I was that's the only thing I was like kind of speculating about it, or like on the fence about it yesterday when we had a call about this yesterday, and Asher told me about this.
Oh yeah, I also looked something up with Scottish and a call.
Oh yeah, the heat wave.
Yeah.
So the thing is, Vienna, there's a lot of stretches. Like, Vienna is not in hospital ship livery. Unless after that livery, they then painted a gold stripe and changed the funnels. Like, it kind of bears some sort of resemblance.
Yeah.
But, you know, I mean, I think, like, because the thing is, I mean, there are a lot of things that do feel like the 1920s as well in the series. I mean, the fact that you do constantly have these big grand ocean liners coming in. You do have like, I don't know. I mean, it seems like the Star Tugs are getting great business. There's not really a lot of like desperate like vying for business. I mean, there is general like, you know, they are fighting each other for it, but it's not like there's not enough business to go around. It's just it feels like that for the Zeros, but the Star Tugs have a hell of a lot of business. You know. So, I mean, I don't know. Generally, and also it feels like it just doesn't feel like they're in hard times. It feels generally like a good time in America. You know, it's not really depicted as like a down on your luck kind of period. But I don't know. I mean, it could work either way. But saying it's not in the 1920s is kind of like, it kind of feels like trying to argue that Thomas. I don't know what it feels like, honestly. It's like trying to argue that
season 21 is set in 2020.
Kinda, yeah. It's like, it's just kind of wrong, you know. I'm like, to me, it's like it's the like Tugs is set in the 1920s. That's one of the basic facts about the series. But it's a strong idea that, like, here's the thing. It doesn't win me over at all that there's a white boat that existed once that it kind of looks like another white boat that was built in the 30s. I don't care about that part. I certainly don't care about the diesel tugs because they have literally no presence in the show. It's just that whenever fans hear a person who sculpted a face for Zoran one time say, hey, I think that maybe there was a diesel tugboat that was maybe going to be in the show at some point when David Mitton was brainstorming on the toilet. Then like
on the toilet, jeez.
Then everybody's like, wow, like we must embrace this idea. Like, there's not a single episode in the show that's dedicated to dieselization. That doesn't even come up once. The word diesel does not appear in the show. And the one tug that we see doesn't even look like a diesel tug. It looks exactly like Big Mac or Warrior. So, you know, to me, that's like an idea that could have been in the show, like many others, but just didn't get in. So the diesel thing doesn't convince me. But the idea that the show, that everything's really derelict and run down, and the fact that they're vying for business, yeah, that's a strong point. I'll admit that. That sounds really cool. I mean, I don't want to accept it because that totally changes the theming of the whole series. Like, that's like, I always look at it like we're in the golden age right now, and if Tugs got far enough, the show hits the Great Depression at some point, and that would be really epic. In the same way that, like, I mean, Audrey never could have known this when writing the Railway series, but like now looking back at it, when you start reading, you know, the series in, let's just say you start with Troublesome Engines, right? Like if you started right here, then we're in 1949. And we know, based on the way history goes, that eventually, like, oh shit, these engines are going to get replaced by diesels. And like, we're kind of slowly building to it throughout, right? And we're kind of like, oh God, are they going to be okay, right? And then, you know, when we finally get to dieselization, and that becomes a thing, and we get to like the climax of it with enterprising engines, it's really, really awesome when they beat that and they say, no, we're not going anywhere. Like, it's really, really powerful. And the coolest part of it is that we kind of anticipated it the whole time, because that was inevitable, because they were going to get replaced. We knew that. And so the build to that is really cool. However, if they just did this in Troublesome Engines, then it wouldn't have nearly the impact. You know, it'd just be like, oh, we're starting in dieselization. Okay, we're like starting with the candy, right? We're starting with like the icing on the cake. It just doesn't feel, you know, right to me. Like that's kind of the thing you build to. You know, so like, I feel like we start with the 30s. Where do we go from there? The 40s? But then again, I guess that gets even more epic, doesn't it? But you know,
war.
To me, the Tugs. Yeah.
Oh, sorry for interrupting, but
Sorry for interrupting. Tell me, Asher, how long have I been talking without you saying anything?
I don't know.
Probably like 5-7 minutes. You have every right to interrupt, Asher. In fact, I encourage you to interrupt as much as possible so that I can hear your thoughts.
All right. But at the end of like MK's, I say breakdown because I like it. I'd rather say that because it's like he's having a mental breakdown of if Tugs is set in 1920 or not. In the 1920s, I mean. But at the end, he says there's like a Wikipedia page that comes up. It was like about how the U.S. Navy for World War II. I think I've got to look at the end of the video.
Could one of you link me this video straight up so I can watch it?
Well, I've got it up right now.
Yeah,
I mean, like,
know it.
From what I could see, it was like an hour long.
Yeah. So United States Navy in World War II started in 1937, and he also said, "What are all the munitions for?"
Okay, that's a good point.
How are you gonna get us out of this one?
They're for Billy Shoepack. He wants them.
Oh, but what's Billy Shoepack delivering them to?
Himself. He likes them.
He's gonna go blow up another trench.
Okay, but he also makes dynamite deliveries. So what's the dynamite for?
Delivers them to himself in a mustache. That's what that's what he does.
But yeah, I think should we just like one day we should just no wait, never mind. I was thinking like once like at one point in the stream we should just watch the video, but like nah, it's like
I mean, if you guys want to do that on another stream, we could like break it down. That'd be kind of
what I ought to do is watch the video and do a response video. Ooh, so was this video so was this video made by MK?
No, it was made by EN2, but MK was at the end. And also MK helped him research.
So EN2, is that literally just 3 letters? Just
Yeah, EN2.
Is this like I need to see this person's channel. I've not seen.
I'll just send you the link to their channel and also the video on Skype.
So the whole video is about what exactly? Is the whole thing
like stuff in Tugs, the iceberg basically? It's like there's stuff about the diesel Tug, and there's stuff about how the models were taken to like an event, and that was the last time Top Hat was ever seen.
I've heard that
the public eye,
but I don't know for sure.
We should just like watch it.
We could, Though how isn't it an hour long?
Yeah, I think we should just hop on a Skype call and just do that.
That would be fun. Yeah, the three of us. Yeah. No, we should do that at some point.
I would be down. That'd be actually really fun.
That would be fun.
Probably.
You'll hear a lot of loud sighs and mental breakdowns from me, I think.
Let me just over there.
I mean, you know my thoughts, right? To me, see, the thing is, what's an iceberg about? It's about all the mysterious stuff the fans don't know, which is literally like the way I experience Tugs is I watch the show. Like, it's all the stuff we know, right? I look at it and I'm like, I like
13 episodes that exist.
Yeah,
I'm into like behind the scenes and stuff I don't really know and prototype models and stuff like that.
It's really cool in a certain context, but when people starts coloring the way people see the actual show, that's my problem with it, because the reason all that stuff was excluded. And like, for instance, I've known about this show. I've known the story. I've known the episodes for, I guess, over 12 years now. And so the idea that all of a sudden this new information can come out and, whoa, there's this diesel bug and that's a big part of it.
Whoa.
I have the story down pat by now. I know how it goes. It's the equivalent of Romeo and Juliet having this extra plot point that changes the whole story, and it's like, we found it in Shakespeare's manuscripts, and it's like, you can't change Romeo and Juliet. You can't do that. Like, it's too late, right? Even if it was true, even if Shakespeare was like, it turns out that they were both Romeo the whole time, it's like, I can't
Juliet actually had a crush on her cousin Tybalt.
Juliet, oh my.
Yeah, like
they were actually both males.
Like, it just doesn't, it doesn't compute. So, I mean, I am so familiar with the story already, but at the same time, it is very, very cool to be in an era where new things are being revealed about Tugs at all times. It's very interesting. Because I thought I knew everything that there was to know about the show. And then I learned all this stuff, and it really is an iceberg. Like, there's all this stuff that I had no idea. I thought all the thinking and imagination that the team had was on screen for me to see. I thought that they'd done something with everything they thought of. Turns out, now there's a hell of a lot there that didn't make it to screen. And that's kind of cool, right? The fact that I'm still learning new Tug stuff is neat. But I have to reconcile that with also not ruining the way I see the show originally. So it's like, it's both of those things. But I will say this, Asher, you realize, once we make our Tugs TWR series, and that happens, think about how many ideas we've had that are not going to end up in the series. And think about come 4 or 5 years from now when it's existed for a while and it's got sort of a legacy, and then people learn, wait a minute, they were going to do this or this? Oh my God. And all of a sudden they start interpreting our story based on something we came up with in week 4 or 5. Wouldn't that be annoying?
TWR Tugs iceberg.
Yeah, exactly, right? And it's no, we didn't go with those ideas. They were bad. But like, they'll be like, whoa, that's the real story. Oh my God. And it's like, what the fuck? And it's just like, when you're an artist, and I'm sure we can all kind of relate to this once we put it in our own contexts. Like, an artist leaves certain things out deliberately because that's what art is. It's literally separating the wheat from the chaff. It's deciding, okay, I've got all these ideas, which ones work? And then you put them in, and then you leave out the ones that didn't work. Now some stuff was cut out, I think, in vain. I mean, I think it probably would have been better with it in there. But other stuff is just kind of like the whole, again, it's hard because we're seeing the very beginning of the story. Tugs was never supposed to die after one season. It was supposed to have a lot more seasons.
7 seasons.
Yeah. Is that common knowledge now?
Yeah, there was 96 scripts handed to this person, 7 seasons worth.
Okay, I'm glad people know that now. So yeah, and there was a lot there, right? Yeah. And it was a very coherent story. Like, the whole thing, the whole story, there's a lot to it. And I'm sure the diesel tug thing, they would have gotten to that eventually. Here's the other thing: is if if we really are in the 30s, firstly, we're not. They tell us we're in the 20s. But secondly, if we were in the 30s, and if we're in 1937 and every season is roughly like a year, and we are like through World War II, like we're gonna like most of the show would take place during World War II. I don't think they would frame it that way. So I mean, I don't know. You know, it's just you know, I don't, you know, but you know, it is cool at the same time. You know, to see all this stuff. Like, I kind of thought Tugs was like a dead medium apart from what we do as fans. Like, I thought we're not going to learn anything new about it. But it's interesting at this point, we're learning more great new stuff about Tugs than Thomas. Like, we're learning about the Railway series, I guess, because of that whole Audrey study wormhole that's happening. But we're not learning anything about the show. We've pretty much learned everything there is to know. But then you look at like Tugs, there's all this mystery that's finally coming to the surface, in part because enough people finally care about it that there's actually a market for it. And so it's like, you know, it's really interesting.
Yeah.
You know what else is really interesting?
Yeah.
Aussie slang.
Oh yeah, we were gonna do that.
That's pretty.
We got completely sidetracked.
I knew you were gonna say that, Lemmy.
I did too. I actually.
But yeah. So, how about we do that? Just so that we don't go the whole stream without doing it. But this has been a riveting conversation, I must say. So,
should the Australian start us off?
All right. So I've got 4 right now.
I've got 2.
Yeah. So me and Scottish, we both have a few.
Okay.
So you probably know the iconic one, "G'day, mate."
Yeah, that's pretty much just good day, but with an
Yeah.
accent. So that's pretty straightforward. I got that.
And then there is snag.
Okay. Snag. Can you use it in a sentence?
I really want a snag for lunch.
Like sandwich?
Close.
Like a hamburger.
No.
Like a burrito.
No.
You're getting
Do you
further
wanna-
away.
Yeah.
What's close to a salad?
No.
Salad.
Okay, I'll give you a hint. It uses only one piece of bread.
So you said hamburgers, Lemmy. We also have them at barbecues. We could.
Do you want to know what it is?
Hold on, what uses one piece of bread? Like toast?
No.
I don't know.
Do you want to know what it is?
Okay. Yeah.
So it's a sausage wrapped in bread. But it's not wrapped all around. It's like you put the sausage on half and then you just close it.
So it's just a hot dog.
What? Because you ran out of hot dog buns? What's
No, because it's what we eat as well.
okay?
No, it's what we eat.
Wow, I think that's the biggest fact
Yeah.
of Pittsburgh so far. Is
No, it's not because we ran out of hot dog buns. It was just I don't know what the backstory to it was, but it's that's why like we have this. Do you know about Bunnings Warehouse?
Yes,
Bunnings Warehouse.
I know because I've been to the country of Australia.
Oh wow! Wow!
It's basically like this big warehouse. And always out the front, they sell the snags, right? And it's all we always call them Bunnings snags because like Bunnings is the most iconic ones for doing it.
Right. Okay.
But yeah.
All right. Well, now I know about this, so I can't unknow it. It's permanent knowledge. It's good to be informed. You always stay up to date with the always stay up to date. I'm staying
Yeah.
right now. Anyway, so more terms, please.
So, Burger King. Do you know what that is in Australia?
Does it have a different name?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big Beefus's Burger House.
No.
I was so sure. I know. I have no clue. What is
Hungry Jack's.
Wait, that's what that is?
Yeah.
That's Burger King?
That's Hungry
Yeah.
That's
Yep.
amazing. I have heard of Hungry Jack's. Okay.
Yeah.
Alright.
And then Dunkin' Donuts.
It's called it's called Delectable Donut Dessert Design Good Deal Diane the Donut Maker Dinner Specialist.
What?
Uh,
No.
no, hold on. You haven't heard. I haven't finished yet. Just give me a
Oh.
while. It'll be right by the end. Double donut surprise. The deal of a lifetime donut. Double donut. Donut.
No, don't look it up.
Don't look it up, Lemmy.
What? I would never look it up. Come on. I can't even find it. Okay, what is it called? What is it?
Donut King.
What? Donut
King?
Really?
Yeah.
All right.
The one that you probably like couldn't find is the one you looked at.
That's just stolen from Burger King. Is it like only one king can prevail? Is that like the type of
I don't know.
you can't have more than one king?
We have to make an Australian iceberg.
That's true.
Australian iceberg. Hungry
not gonna
Jack's and
last.
Burger King.
It's going to melt, I'm afraid.
It's going to melt.
The Australian iceberg would be known as Tasmania.
Tasmania.
Are we playing Jeopardy now?
Yes.
What is Donut King?
It's basically just Dunkin' Donuts, just with a different name.
Donut King.
Does it even have like the same colors? Is it like just stylized similarly, except
It's like pink and white.
okay, interesting. Well, next time
Yeah.
Me and Lemmy don't really know what you probably know Dunkin' Donuts more than me because you've actually been to the East Coast. But I don't know Dunkin' Donuts because we don't really have Dunkin' Donuts over on the West Coast.
Yeah, we do. Got tons of Dunkin' Donuts.
Not by me.
Well, that's okay. Then up in the Northwest Railway section of the
Great
country.
Western region.
Yeah, up in the Northwestern Railway.
I'm a Great Western engine.
I shouldn't have to shiver. I'm a Great Western engine. I shouldn't have to shiver.
God, he sounds so country in that. Oliver, what are you doing, my guy?
All right, Scottish. Should you tell your ones now?
Sure. So, do you know what fairy bread is?
Spell it. Spell fairy bread.
It's fairy and bread. It's Yeah.
FAIRY
Okay.
BREAD.
So
bread.
okay. So say ghost. Say ghost 5 times.
Ghost.
Okay. Say most 5 times.
Most.
Most.
What
What do you put in a toaster?
Bread. I've had that done to me many times, Lemmy. Except I've done it with it's toast.
This is a tragedy. I was so sure
What
that
are you
my
putting in a toaster?
rules were coming in. All right. Fairy bread. Well, it's not the Fulton Fairy then, because it's not spelled right. Unless you go by that one model I made in 2012. Okay, so what is it? What is the fairy bread? It's like a sugary bread. It's like sugary, and it's got
Close.
and it's got like fairies like dancing around, in a song.
It's like when you open those. It's like when you open those boxes. There's just this ballerina just turning.
yeah, of course. And if you eat it, it gives you wings and makes you really.
Red Bull gives you wings.
Like you can become,
It's the Australian
not in the
Red Bull.
badass way. You get really small, like this big, and then you're destined to live out the rest of your life with Tinkerbell, granting wishes or whatever she does. Is that it? Is that what fairy bread is?
No.
I was so sure. I learned all about this in history.
In American high school.
Fairy bread barely has anything to do with fairies.
Okay.
But basically, it's
devastatingly disappointing to me.
Basically, it's bread, butter, sprinkles.
Oh, cool.
And it tastes good, surprisingly.
That seems nice. That seems like a nice thing.
If we ever do a meetup, Lemmy, I'm gonna give you fairy bread for breakfast one time.
Okay. Well, will it have all the stuff I described? I mean, if you make it, you can make the rules. Are you gonna conjure up some actual live fairies?
Yes, I will go find live fairies in the Northwestern Railway, and I will chop their wings off and give them to you.
Okay.
Jesus.
I don't care what your methods are as long as it gets done. That's all I'm gonna say.
All right.
Just says a bunch of haggis on bread.
But anyway, so all right. So what's the next thing then?
The next one, oh crap, wait, what is it? I forgot.
So, do you know how we say McDonald's in Australia?
Oh yeah, that's what I'm stupid.
Mickey D's.
No.
Yeah, Mickey D's.
It's Macca's.
Macca's?
Macca's, yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
I mean, that's all I got. We could go into like the food
Yeah.
now.
Macca's, and Snackers, and Slackers, and
More like
Mackers.
that. Let's put it in the chat. It's more like Mac, and then
Mackers. It's with an A, right? It's with an A.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Redding3640 Studios said, I think when I was typing in trying to find out the answer, guys, are you accusing Lemmy of cheating? He'd never. Yeah, I would never do that. I would never cheat. Ever. I don't cheat.
Good, Lemmy. I'm proud of you.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I mean, I cheated, but anyway.
Blatantly admit
You
it.
didn't get an answer.
That's true. I failed to cheat. I tried my best to cheat, but it didn't work.
I don't really have any more Australian slang.
Yeah,
But
I don't
do
really have a
like,
lot either.
booze.
Well, I'm impressed by the amount of slang that you were able to put together. It's a good lineup of slang. So let's review. Fairy bread, Mackers, Snags.
Snags, yeah.
Yeah. Big
Rejects.
Buffalo Bobby's Burger Bungalow Extravaganza.
Extravaganza. That's just at the end.
Donut King. And what was Burger King called again?
Hungry Jacks.
Hungry Jacks. Yeah. Okay. All right. Color me impressed. Now I have to visit. Now that I know all that.
Have you ever tried Tim Tams, Lemmy?
Tried what?
Tim Tams.
Tim Tams?
You don't know about
they're
Tim
so
Tams.
good.
They're amazing.
It's a hold on. What is this? What is?
So it's basically this chocolate biscuit, right? They've got biscuit and then chocolate cream and then biscuit, but it's all in like chocolate sauce.
It's
And it's
good.
amazing. It's
Very
amazing.
specific thing. When you
There's
said
also
Tim
a
Tams, I
caramel
thought
version.
when you said Tim Tams, I thought it was going to be like a restaurant. That's like such an elaborate name for a specific type of food. My God, Tim Tams. Put that on the Tugs iceberg.
Do you know what burger rings are?
I assume they're like smuggling rings where like fast food businesses go out of business, and then like the only way to get like what you need is to like have like a 40-day-old hamburger that's been like cryogenically frozen and costs $3.7 million. And if you want to get more Burger King, you're gonna have to like talk to the real head of the ring, and he's like, yeah, but it's gonna cost you big time. If you don't pay me back, I'm gonna break your kneecaps.
The head of the ring is Johnny Cuba.
Yeah.
Yep, that's it. Let me, you got it.
Just let me into port.
That's all I need. Just let me into port. You know,
Johnny
I gotta
Cuba is technically Australian.
say, he's the only one of the only ones that I actually believe his accent. Like, I think that he actually sounds that way. Because the thing is, they went out of their way to make him Australian and not British. So if they did that probably means something. Like, everything else was proximity. It was like the default for them would have been British. So if they made somebody something else, it must have been very deliberate. Same as like Izzy is definitely, I don't know what Izzy is, because everyone, I mean, he's got the Mexican flag on his funnel, and everyone says he's Mexican, but he clearly like works for San Juan Bananas, which is because like there's a banana company in the port called San Juan, and he's delivering bananas. Obviously, he works for them, right? And San Juan is in Puerto Rico, which is an American territory. So Izzy is American. Like, he has American citizenship. So he's not Mexican. He maybe came from Mexico, but he's definitely now working for San Juan. The 2 points he goes between are not like, oh, he's going over the border. Look at him go. Look at him go. It's like he's going between Puerto Rico and New York, essentially. I don't know. There's my MK iceberg.
Speaking of the iceberg, there was something on the iceberg that kind of it made me
scared.
No, it was like confused. Just very confused. So it was like how originally the Z stacks were going to be called the black stacks, right? But it had racist implication, right? And then I said, well, how come Izzy Gomez is still on the show?
So hold on. The color black, for better or worse, has been throughout history associated with villains. Like, that's not controversial. Maybe it's not a good thing. It's definitely not good that in all of our fiction, whiteness is angelic and pure and wonderful, and blackness is evil and sinister and demonic. But that's like, okay, yeah, but like also like Darth Vader, any type of demon or ghost in like a movie. I shouldn't have to list anything. Like, we know what we're talking about, right? Like black is seen as evil in movies, and white is seen as good and godly, which not a good look, but that's how it's always been. So like that is by far not like, it's not really, it's something on the grand scale we should change about society, but it's not like Tugs would be the first to do it. Like, that doesn't seem like it's all that risky. I don't, it seems like it's not like it could be so much more severe.
Yeah.
You were saying, Lemmy.
What was I saying? Those two blue 812s. Blue. I see blue.
Yes.
What year is it? What year is it? Are we before 1959 Scottish?
It's 2021.
We're not before 19. Oh, it's 2020. Then they're anyway. It's interesting.
My series takes place in like 2001.
Brought up my ukulele.
What'd you say, Scottish?
My series is going to take place right after the last Railway Series book, so like 2011, 2012.
Then they're blue. Because obviously your
They should
universe
be.
has to conform to how the Railway Series looks in every single capacity. And if it doesn't, then you'll be hunted down by the Railway Series enforcement division.
By
of the
Lemmy.
I will be hunted down by you.
No, I won't do the hunting. I'll just do the informing. I'm an informant for them.
This is where Scottish lives.
But-
Go get him.
Yeah.
But you technically know where I live. I gave you the state. Just come find me.
To the state. Yes. I'll definitely be able to wade through all of that. Because only like 5 people live in each state. That's just how it works, you know? So it's like,
Yeah,
I live in
and then the 5
California.
people in this state are my family.
That? Oh no! They'll just have to knock on a few doors. Hi, are you Lemmy? Oh no, sorry. Hi, are you Lemmy?
Wait.
Oh, sorry. Hi, are you? Oh, there he is. Shoot him. That's gonna be so quick. Like they're gonna take me down like that.
But wait, didn't you technically?
No, but
did
Lemmy,
show
you
your
know
house
what city I live in. You know what city I live in. So that narrows it down even further.
That's true. But do like 1.5 people live in your city?
Yeah.
1.5. There's just
What
this half person. Just
Yeah, what's the half? I want to know who the half person is.
A
Is it
cat.
like somebody who's like in between the spirit realm and the living realm? Like
The
some
shadow realm.
sort of half ghost? 'Cause if so, get out of that state. It's scary there, right?
Come here to
No, I
Australia.
love scary stuff. You know I like scary stuff.
That's
We
true,
talked about
actually.
the
Yeah, that's
paranormal.
perfect for you.
Like, we talked about the paranormal for like half an hour on one of my live streams
That is,
before.
okay, that's fair. Yeah. Still, do you want to live with its spirit ghost? Well, maybe.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Waiting to happen is what that is.
But, like,
it would
my
have such a sick jingle. It'd be like Scottish and his spirit ghost, always getting up to crazy shenanigans. Scottish and his spirit ghost. Who knows what they'll do next? It'll go into like a rap then, and then it'll go. You know, it'll be so sick. It'll be the
Go
sickest.
solo.
Yeah, it goes solo. True.
If I had a ghost friend and they didn't appear on camera, I know exactly what I would do.
You would use them in place of fishing
Sell them
wire.
on the black market.
Engines.
Yes, I would make him push the engines so
That would
he
be.
could
I've
not
thought
get
about
seen,
that so
and they
many
would just
times.
move by themselves.
Like if I could make myself invisible, that would be so much easier than just like using string or like pushing them. Like it would be so much. That would be a
I
thing
know.
of beauty.
See, I just use my hands because I don't really care. But like,
Yeah, you know, honestly,
it would just
I
be
think
so
that's like
useful.
one of the like. I think that's a very practical thing to do, and I also think it harkens back to like what we do in the first place. I mean, that's when you think about it, that's kind of how the ranges are meant to be enjoyed. Like, you know,
Yeah.
you look at like I'm like Trackmaster's like the exception, but like everything else, like that's what it's kind of for in the first place. Like when we're getting all technical and fancy with the fishing wire, it's like I'm like doing this, like I'm fishing, like I'm actually like that's. I mean, that's how I pull engines personally. I put it on the pole, you know. I like reel the fishing wire onto the fishing pole, and I get the set all ready.
Yeah.
And then I hook it up to the front of Peter Sam, and then I just hold it, and I just do this from like 17 feet away, and I just slowly wait.
Yeah, that's the only
70.
logical thing.
Yeah, like like what am I supposed to like just cut the fishing wire and pull it with my hand, like like an idiot?
No.
Like that's what idiots do. I'd have to be an idiot to do that.
Are you insane?
Yeah, exactly.
If you cut the string and you pull it by hand, you don't know.
See, this is my reaction 24/7. That's like
You
how
are
I
not a
react.
This fan if you do that.
This is if
This
I
reminds me.
I've been thinking about maybe doing a review or something, not a crossover, just a straight up like kind of TWRC style review. It would be really fun, and because I've never done one of those. I did one crossover with Percy number 6, but that was like it. I would like love to do a review. That would be like a funny skit in there if I literally bought a fishing pole and I just like I like the you know how reviews kind of start with like the exposition like before you get into the review. You know, you like maybe start with me filming something, and the first shot would be like of the fishing wire pulling the engine on the set like normal, and I'd be like, yeah, perfect, and then I'd cut to like a wider angle of me filming it, and I would have like the fishing pole and like the hat on. And then maybe somebody would like call me on Skype and be like, "Hey, Lemmy, what are you up to? You want to do a crossover?" And then they'd be like, "Wait, what are you doing?" And I'd just be like, "I'm filming an episode." And they're like, "Okay, but like, why do you have a fishing pole?"
Lemmy,
like,
you should do a review.
Fire, like that'd be pretty good.
I would love to volunteer to be that person, to be the call person.
Call person. That's what will be in the credits.
A call person. Scottish.
We can do a review on this guy.
Call person.
You're reviewing PSN.
Yeah, I would love to do like a proper review or something though, because it's like I really liked the one I did with Percy number 6, but also like it's not a sustainable. Did either of you see that one?
I did. That was funny.
I think
I
I
liked
did.
it.
I don't really remember it, but
It was like a Scarloey review.
Yeah.
oh, well, dang it.
but you know, I think that what was I gonna say? Like I liked that video, you know, but because it was a really good like kind of first foray into that medium. But at the same time, you know, I do really want to alter my character because I'm kind of the bad guy in that one, and I kind of want to be like someone that's more. I don't really know what I'd make my character though. Is the thing. Like I don't know how to exaggerate me. Like I'm just a normal person, you know. Like what do I exaggerate exactly? What do I lean into like as a character trait? Just me. It's just I'm just hey.
I liked the acting in that
making
video.
abilities.
You were really good.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, I really like to whatever I do.
He's from
I like
California. He's natural actor.
It is funny. I mean, it's like because you know, whenever I say I'm from California, people are like, "Wow, you're so close to Hollywood," and I'm just like, I'm like, well, it's not like I run into actors at Walmart, and then I'm like, okay, well, actually, there are like a lot of situations where I have met like I don't meet celebrities, I don't meet like actors, but I've met like a lot of people that have been directors or producers. Or like, because the thing is, everybody. I'm in you know Los Angeles County, right? So like not like the city, but the county. And so you know I am nearby enough to like I'm within kind of a stretch, but I'm within driving distance of like the studios and stuff. So there are people who like work at the movie studios that live nearby me or that I've met. So really, I mean, it's not that crazy when you think about it. Like if there's a huge movie industry in California, then naturally, like those people have to live somewhere, right? So they're kind of going to live near me. So it is kind of interesting. Like I have met a lot of, I guess what you could call celebrities, but mostly it's people who work in the industry. Because there's maybe a few thousand celebrities. Like,
Let me just met like George Lucas and just like I've met some celebrity. I haven't met any celebrity. I just met the creator of Star Wars.
I did. I have met the guy who produced MythBusters. I met that guy.
Oh hell,
That's cool.
MythBusters is amazing. I love MythBusters.
Yeah, it was a great show.
Yeah.
Also, I've also been to Walt Disney Studios, so I actually got to like see when they were making Moana. I got to actually see the storyboards before it was out. Like it was really cool because I knew the guy who's the head of story on that, so that was really neat as well. Yeah, it was a phenomenal experience. Like I was like in Walt Disney Studios. I've also been. I have a family member who does sound stuff for the industry. So I have been to the Universal Studios backlots, not like the theme park, but like Universal Studios, like their actual like lots where like Back to the Future was filmed there, and like a few other things. So like cool. I you know, honestly I have had a lot more exposure to the film industry than the average person would. So I feel very lucky for those reasons because it is really cool. At the same time, though, I don't think I'd ever want to work in it because it kind of you don't have any control and it crushes your passion and only a few people get to the very top and it's not a good place for an artist to be most of the time. They'll try to convince you that that's the most legitimate way to be an artist, but it's not. You know, art is art and it's only defining that anybody can do it. But yeah. Anyway, that's my rant on art.
In California.
In California, my rant on Californian art. So I'm making Gordon really big.
Gordon.
Not in the way you expect. I know I've made Gordon really big like 5 or 7 different ways in the past. In a lot of, but this is a different one. This is a different big Gordon I just started. You want to see? Does anyone care to see the big Gordon?
Hell yeah, I want to see the big Gordon.
I do.
Firstly, here's the small Gordon, which I did not make. It's just normal Gordon.
Ooh,
so
I have smaller Gordon. With more accurate wheel arrangement.
Scottish, you win the small Gordon race. I'll admit it, but you're not going to win the big Gordon race. So here's.
Wait, I have a pullback Gordon, and it's very small. It's like that small.
Well, if you can present it to us, we'll win the race. Now,
one sec.
He's not painted
I'm taking
yet.
off my headphones.
Here's big Gordon. So
that's big Gordon.
Oh yeah, he's quite big. He's exactly.
He is big.
Yeah, he's exactly 1.5 times the size of normal wooden railway. Gordon.
It's not where I left it.
Oh dang!
See?
Oh jeez, the regular Gordon just looks like a miniature engine.
I know, and that right there, my dear friend, is the point.
This is good enough. Small Gordon minis.
Guys, clip it. Let me just club me a friend.
We are. Asher wins the small Gordon race. So the reason I'm making this guy is because I want to create a scaling difference between the narrow gauge engines and the standard gauge ones. So, in order to do that, rather than making the engine smaller and making my world a living hellscape, I decided to make the few standard gauge engines that interact with them bigger. And then that way I could do this whole deal. So that's what I'm doing. And look at how small he is. Isn't it good?
I really want to do that.
It's pretty cool, but just don't overdo
Peter
it
Sim
because
so
it's
tiny.
a living hell.
Peter Sim is the best. I love Peter Sim.
He's great. My next story is I've done a lot of thinking about this. I think for the time being, I just have to abandon the TV series Wooden Railway style because it just does not. It takes like 5 days. I've counted 5 days to build like an engine in that style, and it takes forever. And I love how it looks, but it's become an obsession where I take way too long working on it. And really, what I want to do is tell stories. So I think going forward, I'm probably going to make stories in the style of a Salty story because that one only took a month to make, and I was actually really happy with it once it came out. So I feel like I don't feel like, I know that my next story is going to be in that vein. I don't know if I'll ever go back to the TV series Wooden Railway, but honestly, I don't know if most people will even care. I think that they just want to see stories from me. So they're going to be good Lemmy stories is the idea. And the next one is about Peter Sam and Fearless Freddy. It's those two characters in a buddy comedy together. So that's the
Yeah. Asher's excited.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love Peter Sam. Peter Sam's the best.
Okay,
Yeah,
so Lemmy, you did Asher's favorite character. Now you got to do my favorite character. You got to do Douglas. You got to do a Douglas story.
Peter Sam isn't my favorite character. Jack is.
Have I ever written a Douglas story? Ever? I've written a lot of stories. I've written stories about James, Henry, Edward, Gordon, Thomas, Percy, Toby, Duck. Not Oliver, I don't think. And I don't know if I've ever written it. I've written stories where Donald and Douglas heavily feature, but I don't think I've ever written one about Donald or Douglas. They've always been like kind of major characters in the background. I love the scaling. That's so good. I think he's just like
show Big Man. Show Izzy.
Here's
Izzy is so big.
And here's Scarloey.
Oh my god, that makes sense.
And then if you did this next to Izzy,
and we may, who knows?
it's because take Scarloey and then Peter Sam. It's so small.
Lemmy,
he
you
can
have
fit
to
in my hand.
take behind the scenes pictures once you get like everything done and like start
I've
going.
been taking behind the scenes pictures the whole time. I mean, I try to take as many as possible because you only get one chance. I hope you guys are trying to do the same because the more pictures we have, the better.
Yeah. Where is Wario? Is he ground?
The thing is, I don't even need this Gordon story. Like, Gordon doesn't show up. I mean, he might now that I've made him, but he doesn't even really show up in the story. But the thing is, I'm going to do kind of a railway series-esque. Like, the engines are all going to be standard wooden railway engines, but the sets are going to be very railway series-y. So, like, I need Croven's Gate for it because that's where the Skarloey sheds are. And it's on a raised platform in the railway series. So I need to figure out how much to raise it. And I don't want to raise it up like Peter Sam's wheels are at Gordon's eye level. And I don't want to make it so low that Peter Sam is just buried behind the Gordon's track alone. So, like, I need to figure out how high up to make the platform. And I couldn't do that without having a Gordon in the right scale. So I was like, okay, I'll make a standard gauge engine. That will then be a good measuring device to figure out how to make the rest of the set.
Have you figured it out yet?
What?
Have you figured it out yet?
No, I mean, I'm kind of waiting to finish Gordon before I do that. Because then I'll have a finished Gordon, which would be cool, and then I can put him up there and figure it out. But I pretty much know, I think already, how it's going to be. The difficult part is I need to make the raised platform high enough that it isn't just at the same level as the track, because wooden railway track is really tall. When you look at this, I mean, think about how tall that is. I could, so I have to be very clever about that. But yeah, I love this. This is
about your
Gordon.
limit.
Yeah, Scottish.
Sorry, no, keep going. I can explain later.
No, I would rather hear. I will have more things to say for the rest of my life until I die. I don't need you to. You should interrupt me.
All right.
Scottish.
Well, does your Gordon have a gauge difference than Peter Sam?
But you mean like the So here, let me just give you a track on track comparison. So everything is 1.5 times the size. So this is. So in fact, if I've measured this correctly, then I should be able to take an 8-inch piece of track. It's the first time I'm doing this. Take an 8-inch piece of track and a 4-inch piece of track, and it should measure up exactly. And it does. So you can see it's literally 1, 2, 3. So it's exactly 1.5 times the size. Now I made another one a while ago, and this was back when I made that Douglas. Let's see. This is twice the size. And let's see. So this Douglas, forgive him, he's not decent. He's missing a lot of parts. They're in the box somewhere.
No.
How dare you? Douglas is always decent.
But so look at the scaling here.
Yeah.
Gordon is tiny compared to this, right? Gordon is, I think he's not. I'm going to make a bad mathematical claim, but the point is he's smaller. This is basically, this is twice this, which you can kind of see. So then this is, so you can see kind of what we're dealing with here.
Oh yeah. If you ever make the Aussie Railway.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to use this for. This was originally going to be for the narrow gauge engines, but the thing is, the difference was I was going to use. Let's see if I can find him.
I found a Skarloey.
It just looks at the camera. Scarlet just looks at the camera. Oh, was it the Railway series, Thomas? Alright. I don't know. I think it was.
All right, I found it. So he's missing a funnel. Forgive him, but So the Skarloey I made was like this.
I can't see that. The comments covering it a bit. Oh yeah, that looks really cool. I love that.
Thank you.
Yeah, that looks
and
sick.
The way I designed it, I wanted him to look really like big on the track because that's the way that narrow gauge engines look. You know, they kind of have this really huge body and these really small wheels. So I wanted to replicate that. And you can see he's scaled totally different from Skarloey. They run on the same gauge of track, but like, you know, they're just totally different. You know, but you know, the thing is, if I make Skarloey this way, I have to make everybody like that. And then it's this big wormhole.
Have fun.
So what I'm doing now is trying to use everything that I have. So rather than building a bunch of big engines and building a bunch of small engines all from scratch and building all the track, instead what I'm going to do, I'm just going to use the straight up normal engines. Peter Sam has really big wheels, but okay, who cares? It's fine. And then all I have to do is build a big Gordon to match him, and that'll create the scaling difference just fine. But the important thing, the reason I'm bringing this up is the reason that before I doubled the track instead of doing 1.5 times was because Skarloey is much bigger on his track. So even though the track is a huge difference, like it's twice as big, Douglas is not twice as big as Skarloey. Douglas is like see how these look very natural next to each other. Like the scaling, like they just kind of work. But then all of a sudden, if I were to...
Really cool.
Sorry, what'd you say, Scottish?
They're also like Railway Series form.
Yeah, there's a lot of visual differences, right? But I'm talking just about scaling, right? You know, these are, you know, the way I scaled these is very different because I was kind of I was scaling the track differently from the engine. The track was going to be, because like say Douglas scales with his track the way a normal wooden railway engine does. It's very wide compared to him. Whereas with Skarloey, he scales totally out of wooden railway's boundaries. He's like a lot bigger on the track to create that scaling difference and make him look narrow gauge. You know, so for that reason, it was justified when this big track was twice the size because the engine was going to be a lot bigger on this track than this track. So it was going to kind of match up. But now I've decided I don't want to build every narrow gauge engine from scratch in a big size. I want to just use the standard ones. So all of a sudden, that means if I build in this size, well, this is just way too big. Like he's too tiny now. So I decided I now have to introduce a third scale, which is this. And so now this will eventually become the Arsdale engines, I would guess. There's my father slowly walking away without saying anything to me. Okay.
Hello, father of the lemons.
Father of the lemons.
I'll see when you get home. It's fine. I want to see my father before he goes to bed. But yeah. So anyway, so this is a lot more. This is a lot easier to keep up because now it's just straight up normal narrow gauge engines and track. Like there's nothing is scratch built about this part of the operation. And now this part is all scratch built, but that's only one of the two scales. And you know, when engines are at Croven's Gate talking to the narrow gauge engines, odds are it's like just Gordon or just like say a good example is like if I were to do a remake of the of Mountain Engines where they have like Coldy there and Skarloey and Rheneas and all those engines. The only standard gauge engine in the room is Douglas, or I think it's Donald actually, maybe.
Yeah, I think
so right. So like it's a lot easier rather than making a bunch of small narrow gauge engines. It's so much easier to just make Donald big. And generally scenes are like that with the narrow gauge engines. So the smart thing to do is to make all the narrow gauge engines just normal wooden railway, and then make the standard gauge engines this big scale, which is what I'm doing. And also notice I very much
unless you do a Blue Mountain Mystery remake.
I'm trying to think about this. Well, if I had to remake the exact shots, that would be a nightmare because I'd have to see the whole quarry at once. But if I was just doing like the storyline, honestly, that would be pretty doable because think about like the characters in the quarry at the time. It's like Thomas with Rusty or Thomas with all the narrow gauge engines. Or like at most, it's like Thomas Paxton and Diesel are there at the same time. But even then, it's like that's not too demanding. Like that's doable. So it's like, it's never like 10 standard gauge engines. The only example of this is when Rheneas comes home. The story's not called Rheneas Comes Home. What's it called?
Gallant Old Engine.
He comes home in Gallant Old Engine?
No. Four Little Engines or something.
Now, Four Little Engines is the first one where Sir Handel's like, "Fuck this shit, it sucks."
Fuck this.
He might not have said it exactly like that.
That's what we all hear as fans.
Yeah.
No, Home at Last is the one I scrolled. Was it Paint Pots in Polish?
No, that's when the Queen comes.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
No, I'm pretty sure it is Gallant Old Engine.
Let me see.
Because they talk about the story of Rheneas, and then Rheneas comes home.
2, 3.
Yeah.
2, 6.
Yeah, you're right.
I did.
Yeah, well done. But yeah, anyway.
Congratulations, Asher.
But anyway, the point is, I have decided that for the foreseeable future, I'm just going to try to make videos here with this one golden rule. You ready to hear the golden rule of my video making?
Yes.
What about you, Asher? Do you want to hear the golden rule?
Yes.
The golden rule is I don't get to make anything that I already have represented. Like if I have an engine already, I don't get to make a new version of them. So for instance, Gordon, I can come up with a million ways to make this better. I'm sure you've seen some of them. I've made a few Gordons and they've all had different design elements. And, there's a lot of ways I would love to improve this. However, it's acceptable. I look at this and this is a good model. There's nothing really wrong with this. Like there's ways to make it better, but it's Gordon. It looks like Gordon. It's cool. It can tell pretty much any Gordon story you need to tell. So I don't get to make a new one. No matter how badly I want to make another Gordon, I don't let myself. I just okay, I have to make him like this. Now, I don't have a Gordon that scales with Peter Sam, so I get to make one. However, notice that when I make this, I don't get to make it all fancy. I don't get to make the running board all curvy. I don't get to do all the crazy bells and whistles. I just have to replicate this nice, simple, easily replicated model. Let's see. Let me do a fun optical illusion for you. Now they're the same.
Oh my god.
I will admit I'm quite proud of this. But yeah, I even recreated the worst part of the model is what the firebox does, where it has that seam. I did that, so I put that in there, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because the thing is, I have to just recreate exactly what's here, because otherwise I'm going to keep improving and improving him until he takes as long to make as the Great Pyramids of Giza. So I just need to avoid that, right? However, if I don't have something, for instance, I don't have a Tidmouth station, I get to build it, right? But I don't get to build another James or another Thomas or another Cranky. I already have a Cranky. I can't build another Cranky. Or, unless something's really unacceptable, to me, Emily I could not use the standard wooden railway Emily. I just would die inside. Other than the models that to me are just really far off the mark, I can't build stuff I already have. So that's the rule. Would I like to make Peter Sam red and very big on his wheels? Sure, that would be cool, but I can't because that is against my rule. And the reason I'm doing that is because I become obsessed with model making to the point where I make so much stuff that I lose passion for the project and never finish it. And the reason that a Salty story worked is that I only built 4 models, Tidmouth Sheds, and then the 3 pirates. And that was it. And even them, I used existing wheels and stuff. So I really minimized the effort it took to make the models. And by doing that, I was able to actually finish the project. And it was still resoundingly successful. So I just need to do that in order to succeed. Now, plenty of people probably have the discipline to stick with it long enough to actually make all those models. I'm not like that though, because the thing is, I'm not in it to make models. I like making models, but only to a point. I don't want to keep making them forever. I want to tell a story. That's why I'm here. That's what I'm here to do. I like telling stories. And so, some people might love making models, and if that's like their main thing, then it makes sense to spend all the time on it. But it's not for me. I mean, I want to tell as many stories as I can. And so if I have to simplify the models to do that, I should. So that's my new rule. And it seems to be working pretty well for me. The Salty story came out. And now if I keep on that trajectory, sure, I may not have any big, elaborate, styles for my things that I make, but it'll come out. You'll keep seeing an episode every month or every 2 months, which I think is a lot more important than making everything look exactly perfect the way it does in my head. There's some projects that I could never do that with. Like some projects really need to be perfect, but most of them aren't. Most of them I can just, I can make it look however, as long as it tells the story properly. So anyway, that's what I'm working on right now. And in this Freddy and Peter Sam story, I'm going to use all standard narrow gauge engines. I'm not building anybody. I'll have to build some coaches. I'll have to build some rolling stock. I'll have to build all the things I don't have. But I already have all the narrow gauge engines. I have a Rusty. I have a Sir Handel. I have a Freddy. I have a Peter Sam. So all those engines I'm just going to pick the best one out of all the ones I have. Like, it's a question of not how do I build Duncan, but do I pick old style or do I pick new style? Like, which one do I choose? So it's like, it's going to be a lot more doable, I think.
Yeah.
So that's the long and short of why I'm making Gordon really big and why he looks like a Mattel CGI Gordon and not a Lemmy.
90s.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's the idea. Anyway.
I've got like 3 models in Wooden Railway that I find really shitty.
Okay, interesting. I want to hear which ones.
Neville, Harvey, and Murdoch.
Neville.
I don't like Murdoch either. Now that you say
Have you seen the Neville model?
What do you mean? Have I seen? Yeah, I've seen every Wooden Railway model that's ever been made.
Okay.
How could I have not? How could I have gone this? I received the Neville model under the Christmas tree like over a decade ago. Yes, I've seen him.
They made a Neville?
Okay, in my opinion, he looks really shitty.
I like him. I think he's a good model. I
like Neville too.
Harvey has some serious. Here, let me get all of them.
His proportions.
Murdoch just does not work for me because his smoke
like
box and his boiler, they're the wrong shape and they're in the wrong place.
So here's the thing. Murdoch breaks a lot of rules, but I kind of like that. My biggest problem with Murdoch is that his smoke box and boiler are too big. Like the diameter's too big. Compared to Gordon, in the show, Gordon has a huge smoke box. Like Gordon has a huge smoke box and Murdoch has a tiny smoke box. In Wooden Railway, it's reversed. So that's my biggest problem. I still think Murdoch's a good model, but when you compare him to Gordon, it's a little weird.
Murdoch's face is like giant.
Yeah.
Oh, have you guys seen what Dax is doing with Murdoch?
Yeah, he's making like a accurate sized one.
I can't wait to see it completely.
Yeah, because like the Wooden Railway Murdoch boiler, it's the completely wrong shape. It looks like Duke's. It looks like Duke's boiler, but if it was like extended, very long, and if it was made to fit the smoke box. Instead of in the show where it's just this long cylinder. Yeah, that's a good Murdoch model.
I feel like that's a bad voice track. I feel like Saglong has some. I feel like Saglong has really good models.
Oh yeah.
Now,
I like Arthur's model.
Now,
Arthur's
Cake and
model's
Play,
really good.
they have some problems.
Okay, so Neville.
Arthur's really good. I like Arthur.
Honestly, I think Neville's a great model. I think he's good. He's the right general size. I like that they made him, like James length, but at the same time really changed up the shape. I like that the body really kind of leans over. Like, look at how narrow his buffer beam is. Isn't that great? Like,
yeah.
I love how, I just think it really captures him. His face is a little big, but you have to kind of expect that, especially from this era of Wooden Railway. I think the face. I feel like if you cover up the face, I feel like the body's perfect. Like, what exactly is
Yeah.
wrong about this? Like, I feel like if the face was the same size as like the old style, like Thomas, like I feel like you'd be in a totally different boat. Like the fact that, and I like the tender. I feel like a lot of effort went into Neville. Like the tender. Look at these 3 like steps to it. Like that's so cool.
Yeah.
I do really love
Where's
that.
mine now? I'm gonna
Yeah,
grab,
it's
I'm gonna
like
grab takeout.
I like. It's a good model, but there's just a lot of things I just don't like about it.
Like what?
And to me, the buffer beam's too thin, or it's just like the wrong shape. Like they should have done what they did with Big City Engine, where there's like a bit sticking out here, so it's like the buffer beam.
I think Wooden Railway's goal isn't so much to get all the individual elements right, it's to create the right general idea of the engine. So when you look at like Neville, generally when you look at the front of him, he's very like, you know, he doesn't have a lot of running board going on. Like he has no running board, as a matter of fact. He's like literally just got none of that. So to indicate that, they just kind of made it a lot narrower, so it's just not nearly as noticeable, which I think is like a good move because it implies that general idea. Now, technically, the details aren't right. Like his buffer beam is lacking the width, but you know what else it lacks? Buffers. It lacks buffers. There's no buffers on it, and I feel like that's fine. Like you know, but I do see what you're saying. Like,
Yeah.
I found Neville's tender.
he might be better with that. I never really considered that. I like how narrow the buffer beam is because I think it simplifies it. Like when you look at like the kind of the running board, if you can call it that, it's literally just this one brick that backs up to the cab. So it's like not like there's any crazy cuts in there or anything. I think with the limited space that they have, they kind of did it really well and minimized it well.
Yeah, well, that's true. But if you look from the front, yeah, there's this thin thing, and then when you turn it around, there's this wide cab, like.
Yeah, but
And
you're
it
not really
doesn't.
supposed to see him from that angle. You're supposed to
Like-
see him like this.
It also doesn't fit.
And you gotta love the ladder on the back. Like to me, that's kind of great. Like,
Yeah, I like the detail on it. It's just.
I have the ladder,
Isn't
and it's
that-
actually
isn't
like
that
you
good
can feel
too?
it.
Like if you just look at like,
Yeah.
I see what you're saying though. I mean, it's
Hmm.
kind of, yeah, that's good too, Scottish. I
I
get
have
like,
Harvey here, which I painted
yeah,
with.
Neville's the one I like the most out of the 3 of these. Harvey, I do have problems with Harvey. Like he's
He's
I-
the completely wrong color.
that's true, honestly. Yeah, he should be like a literal red.
Like,
for me,
like
though, it's
this,
always-
how I made my Harvey.
That range where Harvey is the right color.
But
He's
for
not
me,
a
it's all
cakewalk.
about, for me, it's all about the shape. Harvey should look like a normal tank engine if you take the crane arm off, for the most part.
Yeah.
But this is just a monstrosity. If you ignore the crane arm, like what is going on here? His
Lego brick.
yeah, like look at how low his cab is. I feel like Harvey would have
Yeah.
benefited from maybe. I don't even know how you fix this. I guess you need. He suffers from Kevin syndrome. He suffers from having
Kevin syndrome.
exactly what this right here is. This is exactly what it looks like when you try to cram an engine into a very specific box. It's been much taller. He should have his tanks should have been taller, so they should have gone up to like here. His crane arm should have gone up high, and then his cab should have been normal height. In fact, would one of you screenshot this and then send it to me?
Sure.
Yeah, I can do it.
Okay, I've done it.
All right, so send that. I'm now going to screen share my screen. Share screen.
I have to allow that.
Share screen of the share. Also, I really hate the face. Look at that. Like, mine's missing the eyebrows. I just hate the face.
I think it's all right. I mean, it is a little dumb looking. It's kind of like, like it kind of, it probably it fits Warrior better than it fits Harvey.
Yeah.
It's kind of Warrior's face on Harvey when you think
Like,
about it.
I like the Arthur model. I like Arthur's model. It's really, I like it a lot. Like,
Close Skype. Hold on, let me open Skype. Yeah, Arthur's really good.
Yeah.
Here's take along, Harvey.
Him and Murdoch got very daring with what they were willing to do with the running boards, which I kind of respect. But at the same time, Murdoch's like his buffer beam is so much lower than everybody else's, which raises some very disturbing questions about consistency.
Yeah. Like, what I did with my models, I just put like red buffer beams on them because I feel like they would look a lot better with red buffer beams. I was kind of right.
They do.
Yeah.
It's a good splash of red, but at the same time, it's like a very you have to do it on everything if you're going to do it on anything. And also, like I think, yeah, I know. Okay, I know he's inconsistent. But here's the thing too. This is what kills me is Neville really needs it because he's like all black. He needs some contrast there. But yeah, if I were designing him, I'd probably leave it off to his detriment. Like it makes it worse. But the other problem, I think, to me, painting the buffer beam. Also, I need to re-screen share here. Where is what? There. Okay. All right. You have to re-allow it. But the thing is, the reason I think, what is it?
There's us.
Yeah. The reason I think that painting the buffer beams is a little iffy, I love how it looks. So like the kind of more emotional side of my brain is like, yeah, I love that. But then like the logical side is like, okay, but like when you think about it, a buffer beam, if you paint it red, if Gordon has just this kind of ambiguous blue blob at the front of him, then it's like, okay, that's just kind of roughly his chassis. But once you paint it red, all of a sudden that's literally his buffer beam. And then you have to think about like, okay, well, so does he just have a flat running board? Like, is it just flat all the way across? Is there no curvature? Is there like it all of a sudden makes it a lot more literal than it's really supposed to be. That's kind of like my only problem with it. But it works really well with.
So like with Murdoch, because it's got like the curve and stuff in it already.
Yeah,
so
like Murdoch looks good with it, but at the same time, Murdoch breaks all the rules. Like he should look like Gordon, but that would be atrocious. But it's also atrocious on Gordon. It's just that we're used to it. So it's kind of like, it's Wooden Railway is really interesting as a brand. Okay, I'm gonna ruin everyone's life. Okay, is it time?
I don't know if you can see outside my window because of the glare, but it's like there's a gray sky. It's so gray.
He's like, that only happens once in a lifetime there. Oh,
so
no.
That goes up there. And then what we're going to do with this is we're going to
extend it or make it larger.
Yeah, we're going to put it, we're going to. So that needs to go more like that. This in general should probably get bigger, I'd say.
Have fun fitting that in tunnels.
That's exactly why they didn't do it. But again, have fun fitting it in a box. That's why they avoided it. Yeah. But when you think about how he should look, I mean, it's the tunnel's fault. It's not Harvey's fault.
Damn it, tunnels.
Back onto the subject of how Neville is the one with the red buffer beam. They did it with Neville. Then when you pick up Douglas or Donald, he doesn't have the same.
Yeah, and they should, honestly, they would look better with it too. Yeah. But also, I really love Neville. Like, looking at him, I think he's like a really, really good model. I mean, it just, I don't know. I feel like they just kind of nailed it with him. It's like
it's like how Peter Sam has a red running board. Oh no, red buffer beam.
Does he? Mine doesn't.
Yeah. No, this one does.
Let me see. Oh, that one. Yeah, that's not really. And again, it's kind of weird they painted half of it because he has that thing where like, that's how it looks. But like, it's not like it's any thicker than. Like, it's just a little too literal. Also, I have to admit, I really don't like the face on the CGI Peter Sam. Like, it's not.
I like the face.
For me, like the 2008 one is where it's at. I love this one. In my opinion,
Yeah, I like the 2008 one as well.
yeah, like Sir Handel, Peter, Sam, and Duke in 2008, I think are like some of my absolute favorite models in the range.
I have the 2008. I had the 2008 Sir Handle, but it's dead, and I have the 2008 Duke right there.
Single
You
tier.
guys are just having a wooden railway conversation. I'm just over here with my take-alongs.
Well, you
Okay.
could perhaps engage in the wooden railway conversation, Scott.
See, but I don't have opinions on wooden railway because I've never had a Harvey or a Neville.
Well, you could just look at them and have beliefs.
I mean, I could, but is that really the same thing as owning one?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Controversial
I have plenty
opinion.
of them.
I
For instance,
don't like.
I think, here's my opinion. I think the Bandai Diesel 10 looks like what's the thing that like a dog like poops out like on the pavement and then you have to like pick it up? Like what's that called? Like dog shit? It looks like dog shit. Like like I think that's like how the Bandai Diesel 10 looks. I'll explain why in a moment.
Yeah,
Is that the
Bandai
one with
Diesel
like
10.
the brick as a claw?
Yeah.
It has the
like,
really good claw.
Yeah.
really good, yeah, if it was on a G scale model. That thing is enormous.
Yeah,
It's
I
like,
know.
it doesn't fit. It ruins the whole model in my opinion. It's like it literally like it's like a just draped over his face at all times. It's like there's no room at all for anything to like it's not
The
acceptable.
claw, yeah, the claw needed to be smaller. Pinchy needed to be smaller.
And it's like, yeah, and so I honestly think I really like the D'Agostini Diesel 10. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah, it's a really good model.
Yeah, I really like that one. Now it's a lot less detailed, but like the proportions are like dead accurate on that. So I like it for that reason.
Yeah.
This is one. Sometimes I do an edit and I'm like immediately like, wow, that looks way better. This is one of those ones where I'm like, I feel like I haven't changed all that much. But once I look at the original, then I'll be like, oh, it's even worse now. Like it's not looking forward to looking at that. Oh.
I feel like it looks better. Like I feel like the tanks look way better.
Yeah, it looks marginally better, I think.
Oh my god, my dog downstairs. I don't know if you can hear him.
Let's see.
Alright, he's just going mental.
Okay, so we're going back and forth now.
Okay.
So that's it just looks like he's been in a horrific, like he's been in a trash compactor, everything past the smoke box.
Especially his cab. It's just so tiny.
Yeah, it's just not acceptable. Like I know this is the only way they could get the thing to rotate 360 degrees and clear everything, but it just oh.
Speaking of tiny, I made this the other day.
Let's see.
Asher's already seen it, but
Speaking of tiny, Hammond is meant to be very much slower than this.
God. Oh, whoa. Look at it goes all the way into the distance.
hello. Whoa.
That's, yeah.
Anyway, I'll remove.
Get a chain.
That looks cool, Scottish. Well, give me the story on this fellow. Give me the story on this fellow.
What?
I said, give me the story.
This is just a small shunter I made because why not?
That's cool. I like it.
It's the
I like
same
the
size
face.
of a board and tender. Thank you.
Yeah, that's great. I like it's not like a kind of like a light going on. Here, let me see it from the front. There's like lights on either side. I love that.
Yeah,
That's
they're
so-
made out of Lego. So
Yeah, I like the little. I don't want to call it a smokestack. Whatever Salty has on top of him. You know the.
yeah, I added that. I was like, that looks cool. I was gonna like make it a bit taller, but like it went above the cab and it didn't look good. So
Right.
I didn't.
Here's Aiden.
Hello, Aiden.
That's cool. Is he based on anything in particular?
He is. He's based on it's a narrow gauge diesel. I don't know the basis of it, but someone sent me a picture and I was like, I'm gonna make that into something, and then I made Aiden.
That's cool. Yeah, that looks really
I also
neat.
made.
I like that. Like you know, you make like a lot of like you do a lot more narrow gauge than I see most people do. Like
Yeah, I love the narrow gauge.
yeah, that's neat.
Because, like, I feel like
narrow gauge custom? I don't think I have.
I feel like the narrow gauge engines, the jobs are always like muddled up. I feel like there should be more like designated jobs. Like Peter Sam, to me, he'd be mixed traffic, but he'd also do shunting.
Right. Yeah.
He'd, like Scarlo and Rheneas would be the same, just not shunting, and then Sir Handel and Duncan would be mainly passenger engines.
Yeah.
Barely ever trucks.
So, it's interesting you say that about Duncan, because Duncan to me is just 100% freight. Like, to me, he's like a very, very goods engine. He worked in a factory. So he's, like, the way I see Duncan, I see him as, like, the biggest and strongest engine on the railway when he arrives. Like, he's stronger than Sir Handel and Peter Sam put together. So, like, they really need him, like, desperately. But at the same time, he's also the most unwieldy and like reckless. So like, they really like desperately need his strength, but he's also so hard to control that it's like, it's kind of a mixed bag. I would say one of the biggest like I would definitely agree with Sir Handel being like exclusively passenger though. He like almost always do passengers, which is why he kicks up such a big stink when he has to pull trucks. I think
Cattle
that
cars.
he really is that Railways Express engine, but it is a lot more like, but not as much as he was on the Mid Sodor. Like something that like I had a conversation with Ted Oliver Duck years ago. That was just a really eye-opening discussion. Is that Falcon on the Mid Sodor, like wasn't just like like when he comes to the Skarloey Railway, right? He complains a lot. He's very frustrated about. This shed is too small, and I have to pull trucks all of a sudden. These coaches might as well be camp cars, and that sort of thing, right? And it's like, we look at him like he's kind of just this pouty child. But the thing is, this discussion with Ted, he kind of explained to me that the context that Audrey kind of viewed Falcon in, and I agree with this, Falcon was straight up the literal express engine of the Mid Sodor Railway. Not just like kind of their version of an express engine. Like he's a express engine. His job was no different from Gordon's. Like that railway, their intention was to build a lot further than they got. Like they had really big dreams. The Mid Sodor, if they could have, would have been like the dominant railway on the island. Like we tend to look down on narrow gauge railways. We tend to say, oh, they're just like a little toy railway. They're like a special attraction. And it's like, no, they could be real railways. Just because the gauge is smaller doesn't mean that they couldn't be more epic than, And so it's like the Northwestern Railway, we tend to look at that like that's the real railway. That's the legitimate railway. But, the Mid Sodor could have been just as legitimate, and it was. So they had their own express service, and that was a big deal. He served a lot of towns. He pulled a lot of fast express trains on that railway. And so Falcon was the express engine, not just like, kind of an engine that did passengers sometimes. He was the express engine. That was his primary title. And so then imagine you go to an aluminum works for 2 years where you're barely used and kept under a sheet. That would be humiliating, right? That's like you've gone from being a king to then being a beggar in your own streets. It would be humiliating. Now imagine you're taken in by like a kindly old family of 2 grandpas, and then you're like, and so they're showing you kindness, but you're like, what the hell? I was a king before, and now I'm here. I've fallen from my throne. You could also contextualize it a different way. I think the best way to describe Sir Handel and the way he behaves, in my opinion, he's not like a petty little child who's had his lollipop taken away. Sir Handel is like an old man that's had his keys taken away because he can't drive anymore. That's like what Sir Handel is. He's like he's like the man who used to be a high-powered CEO at the top of his game when he was in his prime. But now he's gotten a lot older and he just can't keep up with it anymore. He has heart medication and he can still do a really good job on the Skarloey, but he's just not capable of that express engine feat like he was before. And so they've taken away his keys. He's like, that's kind of where he's at. And so it's like Sir Handel, I understand why he's grumpy. He had everything handed to him his entire life because he was the engine that was best fit for the job of being an express engine. And now all of a sudden he doesn't get to do that anymore. Like, I get why he's devastated. I get why he misses the bogey coaches. He also never really deserved to be elevated above everybody else in the first place. So I, at the same time, don't sympathize with him all that much because the Skarloey Railway basically takes everybody and makes them even. Sir Handel comes to this railway, and when he's on the Mid-Sodor, everybody looks up to him like a king. But then once he arrives on the Skarloey, all of a sudden, everybody just evens out. Skarloey and Rheneas have worked their entire lives to keep this line afloat. They are, to him, Sir Handel, if he was kind of in Falcon mode on the Mid-Sodor, he'd look at Skarloey and Rheneas like peasants. He'd be like, working class, going back and forth all day with their slate. Yes, just to build my stations. That's like how he'd look at them. But then once he gets to the railway, I imagine like Rheneas, I imagine a scene where like the day that Sir Handel and Peter Sam arrive, they load Rheneas onto the truck because Rheneas has been working himself ragged for like a year at this point and is like about to fall apart. Rheneas is exhausted, right? So Sir Handel's pushing him onto the truck, right? But then in Sir Handel's just like, don't worry, old man. We will run your railway perfectly. And Rheneas just looks him in the eyes and he's like, you're not better than us, right? And then he kind of coughs to himself because he's like about to fall apart after all the work, right? And Sir Handel's just kind of like, I beg your pardon. I am better than you. I'm an express engine. Rheneas is like, well, before I go, you should know this. On the Skarloey Railway, there's no such thing as express engines. And then they load him up on the truck, and then Douglas leaves with him to take him to the works, and Sir Handel's there like, what? And then the next like few years, Rheneas is gone, right? But the few sentences he got to tell Sir Handel, he shook him to his core because he's like, well, maybe they do it that way on your railway, but on this railway, the railway that I built, everybody's equal. So you better get used to it. And Sir Handel's totally upended. He's like, what the hell? I'm supposed to be king here. You're telling me I'm not king? He's just shaken to his core, right? And so engines like Skarloey and Rheneas are at his level. Everybody's equal here because Rheneas and Skarloey have fought tooth and nail to make it that way. So, and it's great for Peter Sam because Peter Sam has always just kind of quietly accepted that Sir Handel's better than him. Now he's on the Skarloey Railway, where hard work is what's really appreciated, not just grandeur, not just prestige. And now Peter Sam's a harder worker than Sir Handel is. So his first few days there, Sir Handel like feigns ill because he doesn't want to pull trucks, and then like Peter Sam is then hurt by his actions and then seen as the victim by this railway. And so they're all like, what the hell, Sir Handel? Why would you put him in this position? You're a jerk. And he's like, well, back when I would derail Peter Sam on the other railway, no one cared. Now all of a sudden it's right? It's like a justice has suddenly caught up with him because the Mid-Sodor had this really kind of very concrete hierarchy on it where it's like Duke is at the top, Sir Handel, like it's kind of like Duke is at the top, like the grandfather figure, but Sir Handel is the strongest and kind of the man of the house. And then Peter Sam is kind of this more lowly, I don't want to say servant, but he's like Sir Handel's much younger brother that like doesn't get the respect that he deserves. And now all of a sudden, everybody is judged on their merits, not based on when they arrived on the railway, not based on their title. There really aren't any titles. And the thing is, there are. I think that the engines do specific things, but I think the reason it's so hard to tell who does what, and this is exactly what you brought up, Asher, is because they don't define themselves by it like the Mid-Sodor did. And so it's a very different environment. I think they do specific jobs. Like Duncan, I personally think prefers goods. Sir Handel does mostly pull passengers because that's what makes him happy. And the others are like, yeah, fine, whatever. Just if you start being an asshole about it, we'll take them away from you. But like, yeah, you can do it otherwise. And I imagine like Rheneas, I don't really know what Rheneas does. I think Rheneas will do any work that he really needs to do. But in my personal opinion, yeah, like after the 50s, I think Rheneas is just absolutely like exhausted. Like I feel like it takes a solid 20 years to just rest. He's just like, okay. Like, and he just lets the younger engines do the job. And he tries to get into kind of, when he comes back from the works, he tries to get involved and kind of work hard again. But Skarloey kind of pulls him back and he's like, you realize there's like 4 engines that showed up when you were gone, right? Like, you don't have to do all that work anymore. We can just hang back, you know? And it's like, you know, he's just kind of like, no, but I have to, you know, and Scarlo is like, you're not going to the works again. Just sit here in this shed and we can reminisce about old times. And Rheneas is like, reminisce? We haven't had time to reminisce in 7 years. And Scarlo is like, well, now's the time, because Sir Handel's pulling all the trains. And so, you know, they can finally relax after having like worked this railway on their own for like 60 years. Not even that long. It's like 1950. They got here and like, it was like, that's like 80 years that they've been running the railway before they're finally like, okay, Rheneas is about to blow up. We need to send him to the works. Like, he's like, I know. I love the Scarlo
We need
railway.
some new engines after 80 years.
I know.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I introduced I made these guys because I also made this one. He's a cracker.
Right.
He's like,
Oh, that's cool.
you know Somewhere Wales, right?
Yeah. That game
Yeah.
on Xbox.
Yeah, this is what Saltine is, a cracker, and basically they're like these little kit builds. They're not actual engines. And they looked really interesting, so I was like, I want to make that.
That's
and
cool.
the reason,
Take a closer look at this.
because I've got these 3 now.
That's so cool.
So this one's Dave, Aiden, and Hammond.
That's neat. So knowing you, they probably have specific roles, right?
Yeah, Hammond is a shunter.
Okay.
Dave is a shunter as well, and Aiden's a passenger engine.
Okay. So where are they?
Even though
shunted?
he's like that small.
Yeah.
Croven's Gate works in sheds. Incline.
Okay. And yeah, those 2 places make sense. You know what I love about like the diesels on the Scarloey Railway is they're not even they're kind of they're very bizarre. Like, say you look at Rusty, right? And especially in the Railway series, you read people history in railways, they don't even describe him as a diesel. They describe him as a rail tractor. Like, he's more of like a device. He's like a piece of machinery than he is a diesel. Like, he's willing to do any job, and he really is the maintenance diesel. And I think that's really cool about Rusty, because it's like, when you think about his personality, he's just so dedicated.
They.
Okay, sure. Yeah, that's yeah, I'm not sure which vein we're talking about Rusty in, but yeah, sure. We'll go with they for this conversation. So they're extremely dedicated, and but again, I will say this is a diesel tug thing. Like, they don't ever contradict that in the show, but they also never say they. But at the same time, maybe they didn't say it that way back then. They're like, they just didn't specify. I will say, Rusty being non-binary is like 1,000 times more legitimate than the diesel tug existing, in my opinion. Because at least they, when you watch through it, I get it if you watch it for maybe 30 seconds and they don't say he anywhere, but you watch every episode and they don't say he once. That was very deliberate. Like, there's no way that wasn't deliberate.
They named him by the Little Diesel. They never said he or she.
So charming. Like, I realize now that was the deliberate attempt to not gender them. But the thing is, the fact that they didn't I didn't think of that. I just thought, wow, that sounds so poetic. That sounds so nice. Like, the little diesel. It sounds more descriptive. It only added to the episodes. So it's like, it just all around is a good idea. But anyway, yeah. So, I'll say they then. That's probably better. But so, the thing about Rusty that I love is, like, they're a maintenance diesel, right? That's the whole point of their presence on the railway. And when you think about their personality, they're extremely dedicated. They are also just very no bullshit. Think about Rusty and Duncan and how the 2 of them interact. Duncan, they're one of the best pairings in Thomas, in my opinion. Like, the way that they play off of each other, because Duncan imagine a sitcom where the 2 of them share a room, and then at some point, Duncan is such a slob. Duncan leaves toenail clippings in the bathroom and doesn't flush, and like leaves his clothes everywhere. And at some point, Rusty is just like, enough! I'm putting a duct tape line down the center of the room. This one's mine, that one's yours, and we're just going to go from there, is the idea. And so, the two of them, like that is very much their dynamic, right? And I love that Rusty gets so frustrated with everybody else's infractions, breaking the rules, but at the same time, they aren't like Duck, where Duck, it will let you hear it. Duck will be like, no, hold on, this is an infraction. It goes against Article 7, Section 8 of the Great Western Code, and I'm going to tell you exactly how and why. Like, he's going to tell you in detail.
Quack, quack, quack.
Yeah. Whereas Rusty will just kind of curse under his breath. Like, they'll just be like, oh, God, Duncan, again. And then it'd be like, okay, coming. I'm going to fix the stretch of track that you just tore out for a mile straight. All right, I'll go fix that. But deep down, very pointy piece of plastic. Deep down, they are just totally frustrated, and they'll try to kind of like keep their anger under control. But at the same time, there's a point where it boils over, and they're just like, Duncan, enough. And that's with all of them, right? Even they're all the engines, even like Skarloey and Rheneas. You got to think about the habits that two engines develop. After years of running a railway on their own on a shoestring budget with just nothing to work with, like Skarloey and Rheneas would literally be like, Rheneas would like come back to the yard one day and be like, Skarloey, there's a missing sleeper over by the viaduct. And Skarloey would be like, oh, okay. So we go slowly there now. Yes, we go slowly there now. We can't afford wood, so we're just going to go slowly now. That's how they deal with problems. They're like, well, we can't fix that, so we're just going to just adapt. And so, Rusty's a maintenance diesel. Rusty counts the sleepers. They're like, all right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, we're good. But then Rheneas would just crash into the platform on his way into the station and be like, oh, it's fine. It's still standing up. That means it's fine. And then Rusty would come in later and be like, what is this? The bricks are all chipped, and who did this? And then he sees they see the scrape along Rheneas' side, and they're just like, it was Rheneas. It's always Rheneas. Rheneas just doesn't care about the way things look. Because Rusty is built the year that they're sent over. Right. So they don't they never knew an era where the railway was really, really struggling. Now, they did repair the entire line. They did bring it up to date in such a way that and Skarloey and Rheneas really appreciated that, but they don't know how to maintain a railway that looks good. They don't know how to do that. They've always lived on a shit railway. So Rusty, ever since day one has had this very clear kind of idea of how to maintain the line, how you do that properly. They don't have any clue. So nobody on this railway, it's either Sir Handel's looking down with the maintenance diesel. Hello, maintenance. Hello, rail tractor. How are you doing today, rail tractor? Just doesn't respect Rusty at all, right? So that's not great. Then Duncan is kind of has his whole thing where he was racist for a day and then realized James was an idiot. There's also the fact that Duncan is just in general, very brutish and blunt. And of course, the biggest thing is that he doesn't care about messing things up. Once Rheneas would just mess up the railway out of ignorance. He'd just be he'd be like, well, you don't like when I do that, when I scrape the station. And Rusty's like, no, not really. I don't at all. And Rheneas is like, okay, I'll try not to do that. What about, so that station you don't want me to scrape. What about Krosnykuren? Is that fine? No, don't scrape any stations. Don't scrape any station. How am I supposed to get the work done on time? You wouldn't, wouldn't get it. But eventually he'd start to kind of be he'd slowly adapt to what Rusty is asking of him, because he knows okay, well, this is something Rusty cares about. I've never personally seen the need for it. It seems a little bit unnecessary manners, but all right, I'll do it because this diesel has single-handedly refitted the entire line. And they also do the job that I used to do throughout the night instead of sleeping. So that's pretty great. I've Rheneas has probably spent 5 years of his life collectively doing the job that Rusty now does throughout the day. So it's yeah, he's so touched by all the work that he's taken off of his shoulders that he's just all right, Rusty. Yeah, I'll try and upkeep this place. I don't really know how to do that, but I'll try my best. But then, so like, that's pretty touching, I think. But then, but it takes a while. It's going to take like 10 years for Rheneas to finally learn how to upkeep a railway properly. Skarloey as well. Skarloey's going to be more empathetic and get it quicker. But Skarloey at the same time is also a lot more playful than Rheneas. So I feel like he would kind of, I feel like if he sees a really big mud puddle, part of the kid in him will come out and he'll splash in it. And he's like, what created a much bigger mess than I expected. Sorry. I have a train to pull. I've got to go. I'm sorry. You'll have to clean it up. I'm sorry. And he goes, right? Rusty's like, and Peter Sam, I think just because he's clumsy, is constantly, causing problems for Rusty, but at the same time is working the most adamantly to try and make things easier on Rusty. Peter, Sam, and Rusty is a lot like Percy and Duck, like the connection there, where it's like they really Duck just adores Percy, but also Percy is the clumsiest, least rule-abiding engine on the railway, and so Duck is kind of constantly in this flux between you are one of my favorite engines here, but could you please just remember the rule book, just please, and Rusty's kind of the same way with Peter Sam, But
Percy, for the last time, backing signals are not a thing.
Yeah, but and that's the thing. It's like I feel like that's really sweet to have a character who, both of them are totally innocent. Like Percy's not trying to break the rules; he just keeps forgetting what they are, and Duck is trying to kind of remind him, but he's kind of like, "This is the 5th time, Percy. Maybe you could not do that, but whatever."
Yeah.
And so, but the point is, Rusty. Yeah, I'm going to say it now. Rusty's my favorite character on the Skarloey Railway because I used to say it was either Duncan or Rusty, but I think it's Rusty because they're almost like the Edward of that railway in a way. I know Skarloey's kind of the one that has a connection with Edward, but Rusty kind of functions as the Edward in that they're the one who kind of has to pick up all the baggage of the railway. They're the one who kind of has to, when there's a problem, it kind of falls on their shoulders to fix. It used to be Rheneas, but then Rheneas blew himself out after working for 80 years straight, and then finally just decided to take a lifelong vacation because he would die otherwise. And then Rusty kind of, I think it's really cool. Rusty very much takes up the mantle. I think when you think about it, Rusty is Rusty never pulls passengers, exclusively goods and maintenance. And that's basically what Rheneas did. I think for years, Skarloey would pull the passengers and Rheneas would do the goods work. Is always the impression I got. Because I think that Rheneas was just kind of operated as the older brother figure that would kind of he wouldn't want to put anything on Skarloey. He knew that Skarloey was more sensitive and that Skarloey also just, it would have been harder on him to actually maintain the railway. So Rheneas shouldered a lot of that burden. And no one understood how he felt, even Skarloey, because he sheltered a lot of people from it. But the first one to understand was Rusty, because when Rusty arrives, Rheneas isn't there. He's gone. So Rusty basically is doing Rheneas' job, and Rheneas never would have allowed for it if he was there. He would have said, no, I've got it. You can go and pull coaches or something. You'd like that, right? And so Rheneas would jump in and do that work, but he's not there to do it, and Skarloey doesn't know how to do it. Sir Handel would never dare do it, and Peter Sam's too clumsy to do it. So Rusty's the first engine who could actually do Rheneas' job, and he learns how difficult it is and what goes into it. And when Rheneas comes back and meets Rusty for the first time, Rheneas would kind of be expecting to slip back into that role, and kind of with a heavy heart. He's kind of like, okay, back to the grind for the next 80 years. And then Rusty's just like, no, I fixed the line. And Rheneas looks at him like, you fixed it? What do you mean you fixed it? I mean, I fixed it. I mean, it took a few years, but we fixed it. And Rheneas is just like, how is that possible? And it would be really just kind of jarring to him. Oh my God, you actually you repaired the line. And Rheneas is like, I'm still going to have to upkeep it though. I'm still going to have to. And Rusty's like, no, I've got this whole plan as to how to upkeep it. I have this whole checklist of the things I do every day. I know how to do it. And Rheneas is like, no one else was able to do that in all my years here. Nobody else could handle the stress. And Rusty's just like, I guess I can. And Rhaenyra would really respect that because, it'd be really cool for both of them. Because nobody's ever been able to understand the immense effort that Rhaenyra went to preserve this railway. But at the same time, Rusty's been doing all this work. And when Rhaenyra finally returns, somebody will finally appreciate it. Because the other engines are like, Scarlowe will be like, good job, Rusty. This looks great. You've mended the line wonderfully. But he doesn't fully understand what goes into it. Whereas Rhaenyra would. Rusty would be like, yes, we re-bricked the side of the viaduct. That took some time. And Rhaenyra is like, that took some time. It would have taken about 4 months. Yeah, that's exactly how long it took. You would know, right? They both relate on that. And the biggest, I think in that way, Rhaenyra really has the closest connection. Out of all the new engines that aren't Scarlowe, I think Rhaenyra has the closest connection to Rusty. Because Rusty actually picks up the job that he used to do, which Rhaenyra's whole life has been a burden. It's literally been he's like the Amish farmer that just accepts work as an inevitability in life and will just keep doing it forever and ever and ever and ever until the day he dies. And for the first time, when Rhaenyra comes back, Rusty gives him something that he's never had ever: a chance to have a vacation, a chance to actually just relax and decompress. Yeah. Somebody else does the work. And Rusty, it's a big burden, but Rusty insists that he can handle it and that Rhaenyra deserves to finally take a break, and he does. And I think the biggest reason Rhaenyra never took a break is because he knew nobody else could do the job. But then Rusty proves that he can, and he's ready for it. And so Rhaenyra is finally able to kind of let go and decompress and just pull some passenger trains, which is nice. I think I love Rusty. I feel like Rusty and Rhaenyra, those are my two favorites for sure. Those are the best, I think. I love Duncan, but Duncan, it's obvious the reasons that he's so fun. Rusty and Rhaenyra are a lot more nuanced. A lot of people say Rhaenyra has no character, which because while all the other engines were out having ridiculous escapades, Rhaenyra was saving the fucking railway, and so he never got any. He didn't really get any grand spotlighting moment. There was this big deal of Rhaenyra is coming back, but nobody ever really explains why that's such a big deal and why they love him so much, because we weren't really there for that. And the show really worsens the problem because they're like, oh yeah, gallant old engine. That one evening that he pulled that train. It's like, no, not one evening. 80 years. That's how long. And really, one really, 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 really bad year where Scarlowe was in the shed and incapable of operating. And this was in the 50s. Rhaenyra was the only engine. Think about what that means. They're running a railway. You need engines to run a railway. There's one engine. If he breaks down, there's no railway. They shut down. It's done. It's over. Nobody can do the job anymore. They are both scrapped. Everybody here has no rail network anymore. Everybody is now homeless. It's a disaster. Rhaenyra saved this part of the island and the railway. And that's why everybody respects him so much. But Gallant Old Engine just kind of makes it out to be a singular event because he's always kind of struggling along in the background while we focus on Scarlowe, the bucking bronco who's constantly getting our attention and hanging out with Neil. And so we don't really get to see the epic stuff that Rhaenyra did. But I think that's exactly why his absence from the stories is because he's either really busy in the background or he is relaxing after having been busy for 80 years. It's one or the other. The reason he's not present after he returns is because he's exhausted. He just wants to sit back and rest and watch what happens and watch Sir Handel argue with a steamroller. That's so much better than the mortal threat of your railway collapsing on top of you. If I were him, I'd be relaxing too. I'd be sitting back and saying nothing and just enjoying my time in the sun. So I understand why he didn't have a lot of big roles because he deserves to rest. He doesn't. If you're a major character in the story, you're fucked. That's how it works. Gordon goes into the ditch. Thomas falls into the mine. Henry stops in the tunnel. Every time you're a major character, it means you're going to get into an accident. So, good for Rhaenyra. He avoided the spotlight. That's the best thing you can do on Sodor. I've talked for an hour. I've talked for a whole hour. No one interrupts me. No one ever interrupts me. I just talk forever. I could talk
because you're a philosopher, Lemmy.
No, I'm a train guy. I'm a train guy who likes trains, and I talk about the trains, and the trains are really good. Really,
I mean,
really
you're not wrong. The trains are really good and very interesting.
They are. They're extremely interesting and good.
My friends want to kill me whenever I talk about Thomas because I talk about it for hours.
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to go back to the Rusty and Duncan dynamic, right?
That's good.
Duncan, he'd go to a party and he'd get drunk and really hungover, and then Rusty would be the one who says sorry to everyone because of Duncan.
Sorry.
Duncan would just be stumbling along the party, just like, and here's another thing about the political crisis in Iran. And Rusty would just put their hand over his mouth and be like, Duncan, shut up. I'm sorry, everyone. I'm sorry. He's had a little bit too much to drink. He doesn't know his limit. I know my limit just fine, okay? It's 5 beers past this. I can still keep going. I'm a plain blunt. And he throws up on the floor. And Rusty's just like, I'm going to have to clean that up. I always have to clean it up. And, and so and then they'd have to be his designated driver is what they'd have to do.
Yeah.
They'd have to drive him home. And then we just cut to like this scene in the car where they're just like, it's in the dead of night and Rusty's just at the wheel, just like, and Duncan's just kind of like, it has like a bucket and he's just kind of sitting in the passenger seat, just looking very hungover. And Rusty's just like, you told me you weren't going to drink. And Duncan's just like, well, I lied, obviously. But a blunt lie is better than a white lie, isn't it? And Rusty's just like, no, not at all. I had to clean up your puke off the floor. Why didn't you just leave it for them? I don't understand it. I mean, it was Gordon's linoleum floor. Sir Handel would never forgive me if I left vomit on his friend's linoleum floor. Who cares about Gordon? Fuck all of them. And Rusty's just like, well, you watch your mouth, So,
God damn it.
They're
that
great.
It's so funny.
I know. Oh, my God.
Right. I feel like Rusty's drink of choice would be just like a nice bottle of red wine.
Yeah, it would be. And it would be like very, very responsibly drank. It would be like...
It'd be like one drop at a time.
Yeah. That's great. But yeah, so, I mean,
Then Duncan's over here just has like a Jack Daniels.
Yeah.
He just has like 5 bottles of wine and he just...
Duncan can drink
a beer.
Table, like, for sure.
Yeah.
Duncan, I feel like Duncan would like get very drunk, so that'd be bad, but Duncan wouldn't be like an alcoholic either. It's just that when Duncan does drink, he drinks way too much, but it's not in the way that he's like trying to forget his problems. It's more like, let's see how much I can drink, which is a terrible idea, and only idiots do that. But Duncan can be an idiot sometimes, and that part of that is when he has a Jack Daniels in his hand. So yeah, I mean, he's not wise. But yeah, those two are amazing. Also, they are yellow and orange, which Britt Allcroft just made up. That was just a thing she came up with for no reason. That didn't come from anywhere. They're just yellow and orange. Like, that's a real crazy.
I really like their colors, though.
Yeah, I like their colors.
They're very good colors. Fit very well. But you know what's weird? Is that, like, what's weird? What was I going to say? Oh, what's weird is that Sir Handel and Peter Sam, when they were created, had nothing to do with the colors blue and green for like 10 years until Duke the Lost Engine came out. Because that was the moment in the Railway series where they revealed they used to be Falcon and Stewart and they used to be blue and green. They were red up until that point, which is so weird. There was like a long period of time where mankind had no notion of those two being associated with the colors blue and green. Like, we know now retroactively, oh yeah, in the past, in the origin story, they were blue and green. But Audrey didn't know that until like we got much later in the Railway series and that was revealed. And so it's like, it's weird. They were red before they were blue and green in terms of like the fiction. And so it's like kind of trippy. But at least the blue and green colors came from somewhere. Duncan and Rusty, that just straight up was not a thing. And, it's interesting that just came from nowhere. But it was a really good call. Like, stylistically, you look at the engines, they're so much more interesting in all these different colors. Like, I totally get why they did it visually in season 4. Because, Like you look at, I love those shots like in Steamroller when they're all lined up and you can see all the engines, like the first 6 and Duke in one shot. It's great. Like it's great to look at because they're all just clash in different ways. It's just beautiful. So I totally get why they did it. But yeah. But at the same time, it's kind of cool to have everybody be red. I like both of them for different reasons.
In season 4,
I'd
which
say
is
No, you go, Asher.
Alright, sorry. But in my AU, season 4 is the season I'm mainly going off of. But the thing is, there's only 7 engines on the railway.
Right.
Which is not a lot when you think about it.
I do think it's again, remember that this railway was originally run by 2 engines for 80 years. So
I know.
They're rolling in it
And
now.
then one for a year.
Yeah.
But eventually it gets too much.
Yeah, it does after 80 years. But like, I mean, it's I think that I think that 7 engines is enough. I feel like you could also go with more, but like, the line isn't super demanding. It's not like it's like you couldn't do it with 7, but like, I mean, putting a few more in, it couldn't hurt.
Yeah, but that's
feel
basically why I made these 3.
Right.
Because
I
feel like there wasn't like a designated shunter at Crovan's Gate, so that's why I made Hammond.
Right.
So they didn't have to always shunt.
Makes sense too that he's red. Like if you're gonna have an engine at Crovan's Gate, it had better be the red one. Like that just makes sense. It's
interesting. Dave, that's orange.
I think the Mid Sodor had way more engines than the Skarloey did, like ever, because it was just a bigger railway. Again, they had their sights on being the major railway on the island. That's what they wanted, and they could have achieved it too, if not for the goddamn electric bastards that came up from the south. But anyway, that's another story for another day. That was Duke right there. I was possessed by Duke in those 5 seconds. Anyway, yeah. So,
the electric bastards.
What else is there? So narrow gauge engines are great. Love them. Skarloey Railway, honestly, might even be like a better cast and idea than the Skarloey Railway. I think is even better thought out than the Northwestern Railway. In part,
I would agree with you.
Yeah, because it came along a lot later in Audrey's timeline where he cared about mapping everything out and put a lot more thought into it. And also, like every single coach is accounted for, every single engine, every single station, like everything is like there's a very, very clear vision of what it's supposed to be. Because it's so small, you can work all of it out in its entirety. Whereas like the Northwestern, Audrey just gave up. He's like, look, there are 80 engines somewhere on the island. I don't know where they are. I don't know what they look like or who they are. But they're somewhere because I know they're necessary. I'm not going to tell any stories of Kildane. Don't ask me. Like that's kind of where he drew the line. He's like, all right, this is just going to be a few of the engines that exist. There you go.
Yeah.
What a big Gordon face. This is such a big face for Gordon. Like, look at how big it is compared to this. It's just like,
fits on Murdoch.
God.
Look at that guy.
Jeez. Huge.
What a guy.
Imagine you just put it on Murdoch and it fits.
That would be really upsetting. I did make faces for him though back in 2016. And it was like definitely much bigger, but it wasn't like crazy big. It was, it was within reason. But yeah, Peter Sam looks so good. Like this is such a good model. Like I just love the proportions.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
I love that model, but I love this model as well.
Yeah. I mean, I don't like the face on that one, and also the valve gear to me is just too far. Like that's like, because it's not connecting to the wheels, right? I like the simplicity of this one. I could do without the little silver thingies going on right there, and I guess what are supposed to be the cylinders. But I like the simplicity of this because it's not claiming that there's like a rod attached to the wheels pushing them, because it's like there's no way that works, you know. So
I like
I
this
really
one.
like this model.
yeah, it's good, you know. But
This is-
I prefer the 2008.
This is the rarest Peter Sam in existence, actually.
But like, I think the rarest one is the one that sold on the Vectis.
What?
Vectis. You ever heard of that website?
No.
That's where the season
Nope.
4 models.
Merchandise wise, this is the rarest one.
Oh, you get to make rules. What about Edward Thomas? He's rare. He's rare because he's only Peter Sam like half the time.
I'm talking.
You're right. You're right. Also, he's
Yes.
not on the Tally Quinn at the moment.
Yeah, he isn't.
I hate that I don't know how to say Tally Flynn. Like sometimes I say Tally Flynn. I used to say Tally Lynn. Now I say Tally Clin. Like Tally Clin. Tally Clin.
I say Tally Flynn.
Tally Clin. Tally Clin.
Just Tally Lynn.
I say Tally Quinn.
Tally Quinn. Tally Quinn.
Welsh
Quinn.
names are hard. Don't. Okay.
Tally Quinn.
I feel like
That really long station name in Wales.
I think it's only because people are hyper focused on people using the exact right pronunciation, like Tally Clin. What's the difference between Tally Clin and Tally Clin? Like they're basically the same sound. Like people know what I'm saying, right? So it's like the reason I'm so scared to say Tally Clin is because I'm worried I'm going to say it slightly wrong, but like and are like the same sound. Like they're not really all that different. I mean, it's like, you know, I don't know. I mean, if you've like spoken Spanish your entire life and then you learn English and then, you know, you're like, you omit like articles and you omit like certain grammatical things, people still fully understand what you're saying. So if you can omit full words from sentences, why can't you just say a sound slightly wrong? Like if I were to try and speak Welsh, I'd be omitting entire words. Like I would not just be like, oh no, he's not pronouncing the part of the word right. Like, you know, I just feel like we're so strict when it comes to language, and it's so hard to moderate your language. It really is. It's like the Rusty thing, right? Like, you know, I really want to say they and them because I think that's a good idea. But I'm so brain trained to say he, like so brain trained to do that.
Same.
And so it's like really like hard to like override that in the same way that like, and it's bad because it starts to alter the way you speak, where then I start to want to avoid talking about Rusty because I'm worried I'm going to get it wrong. That's a terrible thing. Like it shouldn't change the context, the subject of what we're saying. But at the same time, you want to use the right pronouns and you want to use the right wording and phrasing and all that. And it's like the saying Tally Clin is the same way. I might avoid saying the word because I don't want to use the wrong pronunciation. And it's like at that point, the word is doing exactly the opposite of what words are supposed to do, which is help us to describe things in a better manner. So it's like, you know, it's hard to train your brain to use like a type of wording that you've never used before. At the same time, we should. If not nearly as important with Tally Clin, it's just a silly preservationist railway for steam guys. But I think, but I like, you know, it's a lot more important for like, you know, you gendering people correctly. So it's like, you know, I can't like, you know, we have to say that, but it's like still really hard, and you know, it really like requires a lot of like doing it over and over again to get used to it. I'm sure one day it'll be just so much easier for people. Like, I'm sure it's even easier for you, Asher, than it is for me because you're just like a generation ahead of me, and really probably use too Scottish like a bit more than for me because I've just lived in a world where we don't say they that much longer. I'm gonna be such a racist old grandpa when I'm like in my 70s. I'll be like I'll say stuff like I don't even know. There'll be things that sound very progressive now that once I'm 70, they'll sound terrible. They'll be like, yeah, I remember the first black president. And then everybody would look at me in the room like, why wouldn't there be a black president? Get out of the room, old man. And I'll be like, oh, sorry. And then I'll walk out of the room and fall over. And then I'll stay there and fall just on the ground. I'll just, I'm okay. I'll just sit here. So that's what I'll do. That's my retirement plan. I'm gonna fall over and just lie there for 20 years. I'll be good. That's my plan.
Today is officially my last day of summer.
Oh, wow. You go back to school tomorrow?
I go back to school tomorrow, and I'm taking German.
Tomorrow. Hold on a minute.
You
Today
go back to school on Monday, which is
Oh, okay. You're 4 minutes into your last day, you mean?
Yes, I'm 4 minutes into my last day, and I'm
right. You're
blessed
being
to
very
be spending
technical.
it with two of my favorite people in the community.
Oh, that's so nice, Scottish. It really is. This has been a lovely conversation, I must say. I have to go to work. I work at Home Depot tomorrow from 8 o'clock to 12 o'clock. So it's only 4 hours, so I have lots of time to make trains after that. But the point being, I have to get up at 6, and it's 12 now, so I have 6 hours of sleep. Probably should go soon. But at the same time, I'm not tired, so there's that. But I'm going to have to go in 20 minutes maybe. Probably a good idea.
Okay.
all right.
I do want to do that iceberg thing though. We really should watch.
We
that whole
should do
iceberg.
that. That'd be fun.
Should we do it next Saturday for you guys? That'll be Sunday
Here,
for
let
me.
me check my schedule. If my schedule's free that day, then totally.
'Cause I've
we
got
could
nothing to do on weekends.
I mean, we could stream it, or we could just do it on a Skype call. I think a Skype call would be better.
Yeah, I think a Skype call would be better, so we don't get copyright, and also so we don't share every single second of our friendship with an audience on the internet at all times. I mean, that's
because me and Lemmy, we still have never had just a one-on-one call before.
Yeah,
I've had one-on-one call with Lemmy before.
We've had one-on-one calls, Asher.
Many.
Last
At
night.
least 3.
Yeah, at least 3. We probably
That's
had
many. Yeah, we've had a few. But
They've been
what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, Scottish,
Speaking
you go
of
back to
calls.
school tomorrow. I've been at school for 7 weeks.
That's nice.
How do you think I feel?
Not good.
Tired.
But I'm actually really excited to go back to school because it's technically, even though I'm a sophomore, which it's
You know
year
what?
10, it's going to be my first day of high school.
Homeschooling right now because of COVID, and I'm going to be in homeschooling until November. Because we've reached
That's funny.
1,000 cases where I live. That's so
Wow.
annoying, and I hate it.
yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So now I have to wait 2 months till I can go back to actual school. But then, when I go back to actual school, I'll have 6 weeks, and then I go on holidays again.
That sucks, but at least you're still. I think you are, all things considered, still in a good sweet spot, Asher, where you're young enough that you've still got a lot of normal school ahead of you. If this is the very end, and you're like a lot of people had to graduate, say, high school, during COVID, so they basically disappear from school and then never go back. And it's nice that you've got you'll get through this bubble, and then the majority of your future will be normal. So at least there's that to look forward
Hopefully.
to. Let's see.
Yeah, hopefully.
So apparently I missed a punch on one day, so that's no one knows what that means. Anyway, what's Saturday? That'd be the 4th of September.
I believe so.
Yeah, 4th September.
Yes. Yeah, I'm free that day. Yeah, so
Yes.
Definitely. All right, let's do it.
Yeah, we'll do the iceberg thing. The iceberg.
We can just do it in the group chat you made today. Aussie slang.
Yeah, we could.
That's kind of why I made that. I thought it'd be fun to just because
We could just rename that to the main Scottish stream chat, because this is I only stream with you two.
Yeah,
so.
that's kind of what I was thinking. Is the 3 of us are always streaming together. That just kind of makes sense. But yeah. Anyway, I should probably go to bed. Probably now. The more I think about it, I should do the sleep. I want to.
Alright.
But
yeah, Lemmy, you're gonna regret it tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. So I am going to.
I guess today.
Redding 3640 Studio says, I am still here. Hello, Redding 3640
Oh,
Studio.
he wanted me to show you something. I'm going to show you that real quick.
Okay.
This is back when we were talking about the Duncan and Rusty.
That one was a double flusher, Rusty. You only flushed once, Duncan. I know. Get plunging would be the line that comes out.
Get plunging.
Get the plunger.
Oh, I actually, before you go, Lemmy, I want to ask you and Asher both one thing. What do you guys think of All Engines Go?
That's a can of worms, Scottish.
Yeah, I know, and I've just opened it.
What I've realized is that the point of the whole railway is irrelevant. Because if they can use their hands as wheels, if they can go off the tracks, if they can somehow drive off the tracks,
why do they?
There's no point for tracks.
Yeah.
There's no point for a railway to begin with.
That's the whole problem with the entire concept, is that they're not leaning into the fact that it's about trains. They're trying to escape that. They're trying to get off the tracks. And so it's like, why don't we make a show about like animals or people or cars or something that like works well with this concept? Why are you doing this with your train brand? The reason is they're the dumb Hot Wheels guys that don't know how to do things with trains. They don't know, like they just don't have the concept of it. And so, I mean, they don't know what made Thomas work in the first place, which was that it was about trains. It's not that it's realistic or that it's railway accurate or that the timeline lines. It's none of that stuff. But it is about the fact that you need, whatever the show is, even if you totally rewrite and retcon and blow up Sodor, it needs to be about trains. And it needs to be about how cool and big and powerful trains are. And if you don't do that, then there's no point in making it about trains. Make it about something else. But they're not going to do that because Thomas makes money. But you're not going to make money with Thomas if you don't lean into what makes Thomas good. Because if you try to make the engines as close to puppy dogs as you can, well, then you're going to get beat out by the shows that are actually about puppy dogs. Why would you take a show about trains pretending to be puppies when you could just take the puppy show? Why would you choose the thing that's just a mockery of the other thing? So it's like they should lean into what's different. Like make it a train show because there are no train shows. I mean, there's Chuggington, I guess, but Thomas will beat it easily if it just leans into what it is. So, that's their problem. They're trying to get away from what made the brand work in the first place because they don't know how to work it. But it's not complicated. Just make it about trains. Make it about trains going fast and trains pulling trains and trains doing just trains. Do train stuff. But they're not. Instead, they're doing I don't know what. They also seem to think that kids want to watch other kids. No, they don't. Like kids don't think they're kids, is my understanding. When I was a kid, I didn't constantly think about, wow, I'm so cute and adorable. I never thought that. I thought like, wow, Batman's really cool. That's what I want to be when I grow up. That's how I thought, right? I like identified with like adults that like were awesome. Like your heroes aren't like kids. Like Thomas, I never saw as like a child. I saw Thomas as like if anything, the fact that he constantly pulled passenger trains full of children and said hello to children and hung out with children, I always saw him like a guardian almost. I saw him more like an older figure that they could aspire to. I never saw him as a child. But now, like, did you see that like disgusting commercial where Thomas is out on the playground with the kids? And it's like,
yeah.
And it's like
the buffer hyperextends, which is like,
it's really weird that they know that those go in and out, probably because that's written in the model, and so they can do that, but they don't use it at all it's a nightmare. Anyway, good. So the point being, they just don't know what made Thomas work in the first place, or if they do, they're running away from it.
And you know what else about All Engines Go is the fact that there was a line in a commercial, right?
Yeah.
Thomas is the hero of every story. When he's mostly the villain, he makes everyone dislike him.
Yeah.
But eventually he like he redeems himself. But then he goes back and does the exact same thing in every episode.
It's true. I mean, he this is generally what he does. Is he's generally kind of a conceited asshole who then finds out at the end, shit, I'm an asshole. Let me fix it.
Yeah.
And it's funny. I mean, I feel like you could easily write it the other way too, where you can make him a hero, or just not focusing on very flattering stories at all. But you know, I think that like he's really like it's interesting because Thomas really is quite in character for a lot of the series for what you'd expect from the Railway series. Because the thing is, he's an underdog in season 1. Then he gets his branch line and he's like, great, I'm a millionaire. Now I get to be an asshole CEO. And that's how he like functions now. Now he's like, Percy, get me a coffee. Like that's his whole shtick now for the rest of the show. And it's
then
like,
Percy will do it too.
Right, yeah, exactly. And it's just funny to me. Like Thomas, like they really would have dodged a bullet if they didn't make the show about Thomas. They should have made the show about Percy. That would have made so much more sense. But they made it about instead.
Percy and friends.
Yeah, and the thing is, Thomas looked like a good choice in the first book, and then in all the others, he's an asshole. Like,
yeah.
You know, but at the same time, you could easily like. I mean, that's a very unsympathetic take on Thomas, though. Like, honestly, I do think he is quite heroic in a lot of stories. Because the thing is, Thomas is very human. He's very mortal. Like, he doesn't. He makes mistakes very visibly in the stories. Like, he doesn't. It's not like he's constantly the voice of reason making the right decisions. He's the one with. He has a very good heart, but he rarely has the right answer at the start of the story. And so he usually has to kind of figure out what it is by the end. And I think that's a very powerful idea because we can relate to that more than somebody who, like, if the show is about like Edward, he'd do the right thing every story and there'd be no conflict. And we would not be able to relate to him because he has all the answers and we don't. Humans constantly encounter difficult moral questions. I kind of like the fact that, like, you know, the key thing about, say, Thomas and Bertie isn't that Thomas wins the race. It's that him and Bertie are still friends afterwards. That's the nice thing. Despite the fact that Thomas has this bravado and that when he sees a bus that says he's better than him, Thomas is, you know, Edward would have just been like, all right, whatever. And Percy would have been like, you know, just had some friendly banter with him. But Thomas is kind of like, you are not better than me. Come on, let's go. And then, you know, and then the whole story is about Thomas being like, I'm going to beat him. I'm going to beat him. I'm going to beat him. And, you know, like the whole thing is basically this bravado. It's this like, he's so like, you know, he's so petty. But then by the very end of the story, when he beats Bertie and Bertie comes in second, you know, like Thomas does share the glory with him. Like he shares the crowd. He's like, oh geez, he looks sad now. All right, good race, Bertie. You know, and then he kind of like he develops this kind of respect for him, and that's the powerful part. The fact that by the end of it, Thomas, you know, could be riding the high, and he could say, hey, "Yeah, fuck you, Bertie," but he doesn't do that. Instead, he's just like,
God damn it.
Yeah. Instead, he's just like, you know what? Good job. I kind of respect how hard you worked back there. And it's like, that's the good part, right? So like, there's a lot of stories where Thomas is like that. There's also a lot of things that he does that no other engine would do just because he's either batshit crazy or because he doesn't know when to quit. Like, I love Hero of the Rails. The whole thing is literally like him constantly going behind the Fat Controller's back to fix this engine and just totally denying all authority because he thinks he knows better. And he kind of does, right? And sure, he doesn't end up winning in the end, but, you know, I mean, he does, but he doesn't end up like actually being able to do the job in the end. He needs the Fat Controller's help. But, you know, he still did, you know, the right thing for most of the story. And he mobilized his entire group of friends to do it. So he really played a great leader role there. But in general, Thomas is just like a frustrated underdog who feels like he's being, you know, feels like he's being demeaned and feels like people don't respect him. And so he's spending a lot of his time puffing out his chest saying, no, I am amazing. And I'm going to show you why. And it's like, that's really, I think, what we pick up on for most of the show. That's why he's constantly doing that in the episodes, is because he's trying to prove himself. Because even though in our minds, we're like, Thomas, what the fuck? You got your branch line in season 1. You're good. But he's not, he's still in the station yard in his head. He's still like underneath Gordon, the way that he thinks about himself. So he's trying to prove himself for the whole rest of the show, even though he already did that 30 years ago. He rescued James and got the branch line and everybody respects him now, but he doesn't see it that way. He sees it like there's, you know, a lot more proving that needs to be done. And he's going to keep doing that for the rest of his life because that's kind of like burned into him, which is really interesting. You know, the kind of idea of never feeling like you're good enough is kind of underpins everything that he does. And he'd never voice it that way. And he probably doesn't even consciously realize that's what he's doing. But the fact that, you know, like his race with Birdie, and the fact that he kind of, you know, he makes fun of Terrence's treads, and the fact that he, when Percy gets covered in wool and all the other ridiculous things that he does, he laughs at him. That's because Thomas is trying to build himself up, because he was told hundreds of times back at Vickerstown by Gordon that he was never going to make anything of himself. And so that burned itself into his memory. And now he's never really going to be able to get past that. So he's constantly proving himself, despite the fact that if he just relaxed and didn't focus so much about what others think about him, then he'd be a lot more enjoyable to be around. But even despite all that, he still does the right thing at the end of the day. When it's something really important, really crucial, he's in your corner. He's always on the right side of history. So like, day to day, he's like, he can be iffy, but like when it's a really important thing, he's a hero. He'll throw himself in the line of fire if it means doing the right thing and if it means protecting somebody. Like, think about what he does in Magic Railroad. Lady, an engine he just met 5 minutes ago, is racing away from this big heavy metal monster diesel, right? Thomas could sit back and be like, you know what? I like my life. I'm going to sit here in this siding. But instead, he sees that Lady's going to be just destroyed by this beast. And Thomas is like, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? I got it. I'll throw myself in between the big heavy metal diesel and this engine. Got it. That won't get me killed at all. And he does that. Can you imagine? Thomas is an E2, okay? That's a warship. You know what it does? It pulls passenger trains. It pulls expresses. Thomas is a shunter. He's going to die. He's going to get obliterated. I imagine that the way that this goes, like when he starts out, Diesel 10's slowly coming around the corner, so Thomas has like a solid mile, right? Like a lead on him. But Thomas, as they go along, Diesel 10's going fast, and Thomas is going slower and slower and slower. And it's like right when they get to the viaduct, when Thomas is like, fuck, okay, I have no other options. He bangs out a piece of the bridge, and the viaduct falls apart, and it goes over it, and then Diesel 10 falls like right behind him, right? Like, that's, I think, is so epic, because it's like Thomas would have been dead if he had like a few more seconds. Like Diesel 10 was about to get him, like right there. But like right at the last moment, Thomas like throws him off the viaduct. And I think that's amazing. Because the thing is, he risked his life. For an engine he barely knows. He doesn't even fully realize how important Lady is, I think. He knows she's magical and has some tie to the universe. But that's like, he's only known about this for like an hour. And he's like, still throws himself in there because he's like, okay, she's going to be dead in 5 minutes if I don't do something. And he just goes in without thinking about it. Like, in my opinion, Magic Railroad is like one of Thomas's best stories. Like, I love it. Because he's just so heroic in that. Think about like when Diesel 10 shows up at the sheds and Diesel 10 says all that stuff about, I'm gonna destroy her and dominate you. And he's like this, just an asshole, right? And then when he starts to leave, thinking he's got the last word, Jane's absolutely terrified, just kind of quaking in his boots. But Thomas is like, no, you won't. And he like literally chases after this guy. He chases after this big, huge diesel that's 10 times his size that could crush him with a smash of his claw. And he goes after him, nipping at his heels, telling him that he's a loser. That's badass. Like, that's Thomas, I love it. So he's a hero. But the thing is, unfortunately, we don't ever see Thomas in Crisis. We don't see him in the early 1910s when the railway's just starting and he's literally building it with Edward and literally rising it up from the ground up. So we don't see that, which would have been badass. And again, that's Thomas under pressure during a war. He would have done a really good job leading the way during that. We don't get to see that. What about Thomas in World War II? I imagine he took a leading role and really brought up the morale of all the engines because he's great at giving heroic speeches. But we don't get to see that either. What about Thomas during the Great Depression? No stories in all of the 30s, except for maybe Henry being rebuilt. Like nothing there. Like all the most stressful periods of history. What about the 60s, right? What about the peak of tension on the railway? Where's Thomas during Enterprising Engines? Well, he's probably saving his branch line, but we don't get to see that part. Instead, we get to see Gordon cry about his brothers for 3 weeks straight. So it's like we don't, Thomas's best moments are not on screen. Instead, we get to see him in peacetime being an asshole. But I think in wartime, he's an absolute war hero. Like, I think that, and there's a lot of different, ways that he could be in like tension. Like, I don't think it has to literally be a war. I think that at any time that his branch line is threatened or anytime his railway is threatened, like he comes through. And we see that in Magic Railroad because I think that is the highest amount of danger that the railway has been in the show, like on screen. And when he's in that position, notice how differently he acts. Notice how heroic he is. And I think the reason is like that's what he puts himself on the line when he has to. However, usually he doesn't have to. Usually he's going up and down the branch line. And Thomas, in addition to being very heroic, is also extremely whiny. And so when something doesn't go his way, he complains about it. And so he seems like he's kind of an asshole, and he kind of is. But also you kind of need to be an asshole to like stand up to Diesel 10, you know? It's kind of like, I was like, there's this, I don't know if this is a real Winston Churchill line, but I heard it in this Netflix show called The Crown. It's a really good show.
Yes.
Have you watched it?
I've started watching it.
How far in?
Episode 3, season 1.
Okay.
I started watching it like yesterday.
Okay, yeah, you should definitely keep watching it because it's an amazing show. There's one line I really love. It doesn't really spoil anything, but it's basically like it's Winston Churchill says, he's talking to this new secretary of his, and he says, I bet they've told you downstairs that I'm a terrible bully. And then she says, well, yes, they have said some rumors. And then, Churchill says, yes, well, you've got to be. I think he says monster even. Like, it's even throatier. He's like, they say I'm a monster, don't I? She's like, yeah, they do. And then, and Churchill was like, yes, well, you've got to be a monster to defeat Hitler. And it's like basically what he says. And it's like, he's kind of right? Because that's what the guy did. He led the country against Adolf Hitler. Like, yeah, he's kind of got to be a monster himself, right? Somebody who still has good virtues and is fighting for the right side of history, but he's still got to be kind of a brute in order to defeat somebody like that. I see Thomas that way. Thomas, yeah, in peacetime, he can be a little bit rude and rough around the edges. But like when he's up against somebody like Diesel 10, he doesn't waver. Whereas Gordon, think about how Gordon reacts. Gordon, who's most of the time is grand and dignified and very respectable and everybody looks up to him. When Diesel 10 races by, he's scared shitless. He doesn't know what to do because Thomas was born into the middle of World War I. When was Gordon born into? The Roaring 20s, a really good time where everybody was getting drunk at nightclubs and driving bright yellow not Ferraris, but really fancy cars.
And Rusty.
Yeah, true. But yeah, so the point being, Gordon was born into a very prestigious period where it was peacetime and everybody was coasting off of, wow, the war has been won. And Gordon's like, oh yes, we won the war. We being the generation before him, which was Thomas and Edward, who actually won the war. And then Gordon was just kind of like, I'm here now, and I'm the best. But he hasn't actually fought any wars. But anyway, so I find it very funny because Gordon on the surface is like very impressive. But Thomas is the one who's actually done great things. Thomas is the one who's actually been through real turmoil. But then we only see Gordon go through the turmoil. We see Gordon's big events through the Railway series. Where are Thomas's? They're missing. They're missing because they were too badass for us to see. Like we just couldn't. Audrey couldn't show them because they were too badass. Anyway, I have a deep admiration for Thomas. I know that he's rude. He's rough around the edges, but like I think that he saved the island on countless occasions. Like, I feel like, him and Edward, the fact that there even is a Northwestern Railway right now, like, you know how hard it is to bring together a bunch of disparate companies that have nothing to do with each other and turn them into a cohesive railway that still runs steam engines 100 years later into the 2000s? That's a hard thing to do. Thomas and Edward started that legacy together. They were the first two engines. They were the ones who built the railway. Like, they built a railway. 70 miles of track. They did that together. Like, Thomas has to do that. He has to. So I have a lot of respect for him. But at the same time, if he were on Twitter, if Thomas had a Twitter account, he'd be so damn canceled. He'd be like the most canceled engine ever. Oh my God. He would not survive Twitter. And we'd all be like, damn it, Thomas, we really respect you and you've done great things, but God damn it, stop saying this shit, right? Like, that's what we'd be doing.
Someone should start a Thomas Twitter account. Like, you're just posing as Thomas.
Yeah, no,
God,
really
so
though.
funny.
It would be, right? Because it's just Thomas. Just imagine how vain he is. He'd love the attention. He'd be posting so many pictures of himself wearing cool sunglasses. It would be amazing. But yeah. Anyway,
Sunny day on Sodor.
So I gotta go to bed. But
sorry, I made you stay for another like 20 minutes.
It's okay. But yeah. Anyway, so I love Thomas the Tank Engine. That's what
I think we all do. I think we can all agree that we love this little blue tank engine more than like anything besides family.
Yeah, true. That's priorities. But anyway, So it's been a lot of fun talking to the both of you. This has been fantastic.
Thanks,
and we will do the iceberg thing soon. So
yes, we
will.
will.
Yeah.
Sounds like
everyone watching will not get to see. That's just
all right. Well, good night, both of you.
See you later.
What time is it for you, Asher?
5:30 p.m.
Good evening, Asher, and good night, Scottish.
Good night.
There he go.
And there he goes. We've been doing this for 3 hours and 30 minutes, Asher.
Yeah.
And you've been in here longer than I have because I left a couple times because of...
Yeah. But I'm gonna go back on the subject of the reboot. There's 2 scenes I really hate. First one is where Edward and Henry were basically there.
That's not Edward though. It's not Edward because that is a 640.
I know, but basically they said it was Henry. They basically were like, yeah, we're gonna make these engines out so they're like Edward and Henry, and basically this is just a massive fuck you to the fandom. That's what I hate about it. It was basically just a massive fuck you to the fandom.
They kicked them out of the sheds like 3 years ago. Okay, Lemmy just subscribed to my channel. That's cool. Thanks, Lemmy.
He didn't subscribe to me.
That was terrible. I'm sorry. That was mean. What was I gonna say? They kicked Edward and Henry out of the show in like 3 years ago, 4 years ago at this point, probably. And now that we thought they were out of the line of fire for this fucking reboot, they get brought back, and Rebecca is nowhere to be seen.
Yeah.
Like, you just introduced Rebecca, and now you're talking about equality. You have 3 girls in your show, and the rest of the characters are guys. What the fuck? What was the point of Rebecca and Nia if you have 3 girls in the show? Nia and Rebecca could have been replaced by Molly and Rosie, and I will stand by that.
Yeah. But there's another scene I hate in All Engines Go, which is the one with the dragon, right? So they're racing down. There's a pile of mud, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kana goes in front of the dragon. The dragon's a runaway, right? Goes in front of the dragon, clears the line, and doesn't bother to stop the fucking dragon, which is their main goal of what they want to fucking do.
God,
what the fuck?
There's one thing I will say I like about
sense.
All Engines Go, though. There's one thing I like about All Engines Go, and it's not a big thing.
Gordon.
It's Gordon. Gordon's voice is fucking amazing.
Gordon's voice actor, yeah. Glenn, no. Neil, what is his name? Neil Clive.
I have no clue. I honestly, like, Gordon's voice is cool. I like it, but I couldn't be bothered to learn it. I don't care that much about the show. Like, no offense to the voice actor. You're
Neil
a fucking good voice
Clive.
actor.
Neil Clive, I think is his name.
Mm-hmm.
He was the original voice actor of Thomas the Magic Railroad Gordon. So they brought him back. Yeah.
That's why I like him so fucking much.
Yeah, the original Thomas the Magic Railroad Gordon voice actor was brought back.
That's
20
good.
years later. 21 years later. And he said like he was actually trying to replicate the voice of the Thomas and the Magic Railroad Gordon.
That's good because that's a good voice. Deeper. I like Gordon's voice like that.
I like Gordon's voice in Magic Railroad.
It's a good voice. I will. It's fucking. I like it.
Yeah.
I only watched the first episode. So.
Oh yeah, no. The 6th episode is the one where they introduce Henry and Gordon.
I
Henry and
can't
Edward.
be bothered to watch it because I don't like it. I
Henry
just
and
don't
random fucker.
And then fucking the random 640
Edward.
Edward. Yeah, fucking,
Yeah, but basically that was just a massive fuck you to the fandom. Just
yeah. I fucking hate this. The fandom could have made the show so much better than any fucking company.
I mean,
could.
all the G scale
that.
models people have made
Yeah.
been so much better. Like gauge
There
1,
needs to be
not G
there
scale.
needs to be a channel. I'm gonna say this. There needs to be a channel, and like no one should subscribe to it, so it's like under the radar, but they get a fucking shit ton of views. Where they like make like models, like the G scale models that they made, and they make sets and film, and like they just recreate. There's write their own episodes, and it's just the show from now on. But it's like no subscribers,
Yeah.
and we just like because fucking Mattel would take that shit down real quick. So if we just have nothing, if we don't promote it, then like we obviously talk about it on Twitter and then just don't, and we can just watch it and it's just the show. We don't watch anything that happens unless they bring back fucking like the Brenner era or something.
Yeah.
Like I feel like that'd be sick. Or like I feel like I proposed this with a couple other people when we were talking. I don't know if I have with you yet, but I feel like Lemmy, Enterprising Engines, and then like a couple other people, if they all wrote for like a specific series, that would be a good fucking series.
Yeah, but also the thing is, Enterprising Engine doesn't write his stories.
Yeah, he
They're
wrote
like,
some for
the Berry Truck. He's an amazing scriptwriter,
he's good.
and he
Yeah.
has a really good voice as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's probably time we end the stream because it's been going
Yes.
on for a while.
We've been doing this for too damn long. I'm getting tired. It's fucking almost.
I'm getting tired too, and it's only 5:30
What
p.m.
time is it for me? It's oh my god! It's fucking 12:30.
Yeah.
It's almost 1 in the morning. I should probably go to bed.
All right.
All right.
It's better.
Well, this has been fun. What?
Yeah, it was. It's better if you
It's
do
been-
get to bed.
Yes. I mean, I don't really have anything to do tomorrow, but I should probably get to sleep because I have my school. I have to be up for school. I have to get up at 6 in the morning to get ready for school. So that's gonna be hell. So I should probably start doing that. Just like get on like a consistent schedule. But
Yeah.
this has been really fun.
All right.
Thank
Yeah, it
you Ash,
was.
for being here. You have been here the whole damn time. Thank you. All the fucking 3.5 hours, almost 3 hours, 40 minutes. Lemmy had joined like 3 hours ago. So yeah, it's been fun. I love doing these streams with you guys because you guys are my closest
Yeah.
friends. I will say that you guys are just fucking amazing. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right. See
Thank
you,
you.
Scottish.
See ya,
Thanks
Asher.
for having me on here. So,
Yeah, dude, anytime.
bye.
See ya. Bye. I'm gonna promote self-promotion. Like and subscribe to my channel. All right, bye.